I gotta feel everything's gonna be alright. Be alright. Be alright. Be alright. I gotta feel that everything's gonna be alright. Oh, I gotta feel everything's gonna be alright. I gotta feel everything's gonna be alright. Be alright. Be alright. Be alright. I gotta feel that everything's gonna be alright. Oh, I gotta feel everything's gonna be alright. I gotta feel everything's gonna be alright. Be alright. Be alright. Be alright. I gotta feel that everything's gonna be alright. Oh, I gotta feel everything's gonna be alright. I gotta feel everything's gonna be alright. Be alright. Be alright. Be alright. Alright, alright, it's gonna be alright, alright, alright. I believe it's gonna be alright, but it's gonna be alright, alright. We've been made and took for a night, but joy comes in the morning. I believe it will be, but it's gonna be alright, alright. Alright, alright, it's gonna be alright, alright, alright. I believe it's gonna be alright, but it's gonna be alright, alright. We've been made and took for a night, but joy comes in the morning. I believe it will be, but it's gonna be alright, alright. Alright, alright, it's gonna be alright, alright, alright. I believe it's gonna be alright, but it's gonna be alright, alright. We've been made and took for a night, but joy comes in the morning. I believe it will be, but it's gonna be alright, alright. Alright, alright, it's gonna be alright, alright, alright. I believe it's already alright, alright. Yeah, so right, till the battle is over, you can shout right now, shout right now, shout right now, shout right now. Trust him and never doubt, but it already brought you out. Alright, it's already alright, alright. I gotta feel everything's gonna be alright. Be alright, be alright, be alright. I gotta feel that everything's gonna be alright. Oh, I gotta feel everything's gonna be alright. I gotta feel everything's gonna be alright. Be alright, be alright, be alright. Alright, alright, it's gonna be alright, alright, alright. I believe it's gonna be alright, but it's gonna be alright, alright. We've been made and took for a night, but joy comes in the morning. I believe it will be, but it's gonna be alright, alright. Alright, alright, it's gonna be alright, alright, alright. It's already alright, alright. Yeah, so right, till the battle is over, you can shout right now, shout right now, shout right now, shout right now. Trust him and never doubt, but it already brought you out. Alright, it's already alright, alright. Yeah, so right, till the battle is over, you can shout right now, shout right now, shout right now, shout right now. and never doubt, but it's alright. Trust you. Alright. Alright. It's alright. 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 Yeah. Go on. I feel it. It's gonna be alright. 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 Oh, be alright. Let everything's gonna be alright. Praise the Lord, everybody. Praise the Lord. Everybody, come on in to tonight's broadcast. You're joining us live on The Cutting Edge. We are excited to have you on this evening. And it is going to be a wonderful discussion. So get ready to hear these panelists on this evening. I tell you, people have been blowing my phone up regarding this subject matter. It is going to be hot this night. I want to first give honor to God, to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who is the head of my life. I also give honor to my bishop, the late Bishop Joseph Williams, who is the founder of Christ Church International, located in Jamaica, New York, and to my First Lady, Lady Carolyn Williams, and also my husband of 8 years, Deacon Dexter Neal. I thank God for him. Well, I tell you, we have a very timely subject on this evening. This is something, I believe that there's something for everybody in this discussion on tonight. We're talking about making it in marriage and in ministry, dating, marriage, ministry, and life after divorce. This is going to be a dynamic discussion. We are here. It's not going to be an all-inclusive discussion, but there will be things said that will give you wisdom, impartation, and understanding about how to go about the marriage game. In Genesis chapter number 1, starting at verse number 26, you will see that the Bible shows us that man was made in his image and likeness, male and female, he made them, Adam and Eve, and he brought the two of them together. God did it. Marriage is a God thing. He brought the two of them together and married them. So we're going to be talking about on this evening, commitment. We're going to be discussing overcoming trials and doing life together. We're going to discuss the dating process. What do we look for in a potential spouse? And how do we know when to call it quits? How do we know that the behavior that we're seeing in the person that we're courting or dating is a deal breaker? So I have on this evening some awesome panelists that are going to bless your life. We have Lady Dion Daniels. Yes, she is married to Bishop Designate Cliff Daniels. Can you send up some hearts for them and bless God for their lives? They are pastoring down in Richmond, Virginia at the Reset Church RVA at 2400 Fairmont Avenue. They would love to have you on a Sunday morning, so please make sure, if you are in the Richmond, Virginia area, please make sure that you stop by and visit them. They have been married 22 years and have 5 children. So we know that we are in for an impartation on this evening. And we also have Bishop Jason McCants. Let's send up some hearts for him. His wife will be here soon, who is Pastor Cynthia McCants. They have been married 13 years. They have 6 children. Yes, I didn't stutter. They got 6 children. So they also have many things to share regarding the subject of marriage, remarriage. How do we go about this whole thing and being healed and being whole? Because that's the thing that God wants. No matter what your lifestyle, no matter what station of life that you're in right now, God wants us to be healthy, healed, and he wants us to be whole. So
They pastor the cathedral at New Gethsemane Baptist Church. They have two locations. One is in Brooklyn at 209 Rochester Avenue, and the wife pastors at 514 Middle Country Road in Middle Island, New York. So send up some hearts and some love for our panelists on this evening. They are all very dynamic people. There's more to them even than what you see here. They are entrepreneurial. They have businesses. They have so much that they can share so that you can be established in your marriage and bring correction and gain insight on tonight. So I need everybody that is on here this evening. Be interactive. Send up your heart. Send up your likes. Send your comments because we are live right now. We are streaming live on my two Facebook pages, which is Adrienne Hight Ministries and A Hight Ministries, and also on YouTube. So please make sure that you send up all of your comments. I will be showing them live. And Pastor McCants will be with us shortly, but we're going to jump right on in here. Amen. We are going to jump right on in here. And the first question that I want to ask our illustrious panel is why? Why should we even get married in the first place? And what is the purpose of marriage? If I could have the Daniels to first start talking about that.
Well, I'm a firm believer that well, let me start here. When my wife and I were going for marriage counseling, uh, the pastor who was counseling us said something that I will always remember. I always repeat it to couples that I counsel. He said, "Don't get married for love. Get married for commitment." And that stuck with me. And that has to be the underlying foundation of your marriage relationship is your ability to commit to one another. You know, when we say those vows in sickness and health, richer for poorer, for better for worse. I think sometimes we forget, but when the rubber actually meets the road, do we mean it? And along those lines, I believe that the reason for marriage is for the realization of purpose and destiny. Um, there were things Adam could not accomplish by himself. He needed a helpmeet. He's given a fivefold command to multiply, to subdue, to replenish, and dominion. And he's not able to do that by himself. So that coupling together of man and wife allows both of us to realize our God-given destiny and our purpose.
Did you want me to answer too?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, yes.
I agree. He said this a while ago. I think we were talking about marriage, and I believe that when two people come together, when the Lord allows and ordains them to come together, it is for purpose, and it is to leave something. There's a greater deposit that the two leave in the earth. So when we realized it was greater than just love, it was a purpose that God ordained to marry, come together, and now impact lives and those that we've come in contact with in a great way. So it's bigger than just two people coming together and just saying they're married. There's divine purpose you have it with that person. And it's to leave something that after you're gone, there's something still in the earth because of the two of you coming together.
Amen. I love that. Bishop McCants, what's your take on it?
Good evening, everyone. God bless you. I want to just piggyback just a little bit off of what Bishop said about commitment, and I want to highlight those vows that we take. The vows are like It's like insurance. You have insurance, but you never know how valuable it is until you need it. And so it is. It's just like your vows. You take those vows, but those vows really come into play when you need it. When you need those vows to come into play. When you talk about being sickness and in health, richer or for poorer, better or for worse. These are areas that you may not be in every single day of your life, but when they do come up, you remember those vows that you took. You remember the commitment that you made. And I just believe that when two people get married, it's commitment and then there's trust. You show the world, you show people that God can be the center of a relationship and how successful it can be. We may not always show everything, and I always tell people, yeah, me and my wife look like the greatest, happiest couple there is on the outside, but we have issues, we have our problems, we have our situations that we have to work through, but we always thank God that we're able to come back together because we continue to put God at the center. Now, sometimes it may not be easy to keep our eye on him while we're going through, but we always know that he is there. So as long as you put God at the center, that commitment is a revealing to everyone around us, even in this climate that's telling us marriage is obsolete. Because Elder, that's what people are saying now.
Oh yes.
Bishop, doesn't it? That's what people are saying. Lady Daniels, people are saying even in the church, which is a shock to me.
Yeah.
Even in the church, people are saying, well, I'm not going to get married. I'm just going to shack up and not tell nobody. Mm-hmm. Or if they find out, so what? But marriage is still honorable in the sight of God.
Yes, it is. And I like the comments that you made about purpose, that you're not just getting married to get out of the house. You're not getting married just because your car note is due. But it should be more than that. There should be a whole lot more to it than that, and that you should feel that there's a kingdom assignment, that God brought the two of you together, and that there's a kingdom assignment for the two of you to fulfill in the earth. I know sometimes many people, we get married for the wrong reason. We got all these other reasons as to why we want to get married, and then we get in it. And then we find out, wait a minute, there's a lot more to it than I thought. A lot of people think everything's going to be fixed in the bedroom. The bedroom is part of it, but it's not the ultimate problem solver that some people might think that it is. So let's talk about, what do you look for in a life partner? If this is supposed to be till death do us part, what are the qualities that we're talking from a Christian perspective? What are the things that we should be looking for in a potential life partner? And you can include your deal breakers, your red flags that say, hold up, wait a minute, I got to pump the brakes on this. Let's start with, how about Lady Daniels? Can you elaborate on that? You can even say, tell us how did it meet, and how did you know he was the one?
So I met my husband through a mutual friend, my best friend who I grew up with. I was not in church for a while. I had left the church, and you see this judgment. I had left the church. I grew up in church all my life. I'm a Kojic baby, so I grew up in church all my life. All I saw was saved in my mother, my grandparents. I left church, and I started to decide, I'm going to go back. I'm going to really commit my life to the Lord. And she invited me she sang in his group, and she invited me to come and just be with them on a Sunday afternoon. She said, come to church with me, which was my old home church, Mount Sinai Cathedral, Church of God in Christ. And so I went to church with her. She said, we're going to go sing after. He came and picked us up. And so I really, at first, didn't say much. he was dating somebody and just all of that. So we became friends after a while. I started to sing with this group. We became friends. I was married at that time, but um, I got married young. So I was married at that time, but in the midst of separation and all of that stuff. And for a while, we hadn't seen each other since. And I went to a John P. concert. I remember it was at the Pilgrim Renaissance, and he was sitting down in the on the lower level.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "Oh, there's my friend," to see him. But I looked a little different. And then when I looked at him, to me, he looked different.
Uh-huh.
And he got up. I was leaving. He got up and came out to talk to me, and I was with my son's godmother. And we were talking, but there was a little bit of an attraction there. I just started looking at him like saying, Cliff, you look different. And when I got in the car with her and said, watch, he's gonna be my husband. No lie. I said, she was looking at me like, what? I said, you watch what I tell you, he's gonna be my husband. She was like, yeah, right, okay. We started talking. And he was just really my friend, but there was something more. And he tried to kind of get rid of me a little bit. He did. He tried to get rid of me. But not that I was a stalker type, but I just kind of wanted to, I liked him. So we just developed this friendship that just ended up being so much more. He was kind to me. He listened to me. Um, I can't think of once, maybe only once, that he's ever gotten really, really angry with me, or, like kind of like snapped at me a little bit. That's only because I pushed him, because I'm spoiled. So, but other than that, the deal breakers were me for me was because I was in an abusive relationship. I didn't want a man who was abusive. I didn't want a man who felt like he could talk to me any kind of way, put his hands on me. He never was derogatory to me, never put me down. Even when I felt down about myself, he was the one picking me up, saying, no, Dion, don't feel that way. He encouraged me to go to school. He encouraged me to get my certificate in different areas. So he was always that one pushing me. And that's what I hadn't had. I hadn't seen that in a man. And I was grateful that he was saved. He loved God. Not that he was perfect, but he loved God. And I saw how he loved his mother. I saw how he treated his mother. He cared for his mother. So I knew that he would care for me. And that's the thing. So I tell any woman, watch a man how he treats his mother. Watch how
Yeah.
he acts towards his family. Um, if he knows whatever about me, he's thrown it up in my face, in my bad stuff, my ugly moments. He's never taken it and used it against me in a heated moment. Those are the things we need to look at. And so that was the way that we kind of came together. I mean, he may have a different, but that was my version. But I loved him. I loved him as my friend, and to know he was my husband. He was going to be my husband. I don't know how, but I just knew he was going to be my husband.
You knew. All right. So Bishop
I did.
Designate Daniels, talk about it. How did you
Yes.
know? What qualities were you looking for?
Um, I was looking for someone that I could trust with who I was. Um, although being a PK coming up in church, I turned to the street when I became a. I was heavy in the street. Heavy in the drug game. Became a Muslim. Did all of that foolishness, and I had people who had known me my entire life, but they only knew segments of it. So I was trying to let God work on me to bring me completely into the church. But I was very rough around it. extremely rough around the edges. Um, and everybody couldn't handle me. Um, you know, with her, as she stated, we developed a friendship before any kind of relationship. So I could sit. We used to sit and just talk for hours um, about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's what won me over because I said I can trust her with who I am, and then she was going to be. Um, I was, now I'm taking a turn uh, from music ministry to going into the preach word, um, and she was there through all of those steps. Was never a hindrance. Was never a nah. I don't want you to do that. She was always there to push me and promote me, and I'm just like, this is who I need to be with.
Yeah.
This is who I need to have by my side. And that was my deciding factor. Um, you know,
And that is cute.
and then God blessed us with a daughter, and I said, "There's no way that I'm leaving her and my daughter." I had already been through having a child before, and I didn't want to repeat a cycle. And I'm sorry if I'm being long-winded, but you
No.
gotta know cycles in your family,
Yes.
and when you know that you come from not with my mother and my father, but beyond that was a series of broken homes.
Yes.
When they wrote the song "Papa Was a Rolling Stone," they wrote that about my grandfather.
Oh, yes.
He was the Rolling Stone, no more. And I did not want to repeat that same thing again. So I said, nope, this is what you've done. This is, it gets no better than this. Settle down and make the commitment to make this your home. And that's what I did.
Wow, that's a very powerful testimony. I love what you said that you could be yourself and that you could trust her and that it wouldn't come back at you and be used against you. That is phenomenal, Bishop McCants.
Yeah.
Well, how I met uh, Lady McCants is a real funny story. I'll shorten it for the sake of time. But I was invited to come to a church service, and one of my friends, who Elder Pastor Evan Gray, told me. He said, "Man, you gotta come hear this. You gotta come hear her. I'm telling you, you gonna have her to your church. Watch, watch, watch. You gonna have her to your church." I said, "All right, I'll come." I said, "It's kind of a little ways from me, but I'm gonna come because he's all the way out in Far Rockaway." So I went out to Far Rockaway one night, and sure enough, she was preaching. There was a gentleman on the keyboard, and Pastor Gray asked me to come up to the organ, and I was kind of reluctant. I really didn't want to come there to play. I was coming there to hear the word, and I'm sure Bishop could understand that. When you being a musician, sometimes you come into a church and you just want to just get the word, and if they know you can play and that instrument is empty, they're gonna start beckoning for you. So I went up there, and she started singing, and it's so funny, Lady Daniels. It's so funny. She started singing "Open the Floodgates of Heaven." I don't know. I don't know if that was a sign or not, but she started singing "Open the Floodgates of Heaven, Let It Rain." So I played. I backed up on the organ. Afterwards, I invited her to the church. I took her card. If she was on, she would tell you that she would. This is the part she would jump in on. But I could proudly say she thought that I was trying to, as they say, trying to holler at her. But I really wasn't. I really was trying to get her to the church to preach. And I held onto her card. I never called her. I only called her one time, and that was the day before That was the day before she was scheduled to come and preach. It's so funny. She's coming on as I'm telling this
I
story.
see. Yes, yes, sir. Right on time.
So she even told her mother, and she'll tell you, she even told her mother, yeah, I think he trying to call me. He trying to this, he trying to that. Well, Bishop, I never called. I never did. And I got her to preach. It was like 2 or 3 months later. She came to the church. We became good friends. And 3 or 4 months before we even decided to date. So I'm very proud of the fact that we were friends, and we would talk so long. Sometimes we would talk till we start falling asleep on the phone. We'd be dozing off on the phone. So it was a blessing. And how did I know that she was the one for me? Well, I was sick. I had the flu, and I used to work for transit. And when you're working out there, you catch the flu if you don't take that flu shot. So she came to my parents' house. I was there. I was just getting over the flu, and my daughter was there. And my daughter walked her out. She was leaving, and my daughter walked her to the door. And I was taking her home. My daughter followed her out, and my daughter said, "Bye." So she said, "Bye." And then my daughter said, "Can I have a hug?" And she didn't hesitate to go and to grab my daughter and to give my daughter a hug. And I knew right then and there that my daughter was a great judge of character. And if she could show love to my daughter for the first time and embrace her, I just knew right then and there, this gonna be my wife right here. This she's the one. I said, I'm gonna take my time, but I already know she's gonna be my wife.
I love it. Pastor McCants, you came in at the perfect moment. Bishop McCants and everybody was sharing how they met, sharing what they look for in a mate. So he was just sharing about how the two of you met and how you courted. So perhaps you'd like to share what attracted you to Bishop McCants, and how did you know that he was the one?
He said it. We were friends. I had been a year or two out of a very bad divorce, and I was very anxious in the beginning. I just knew I was meant to remarry. I knew I was meant to be in a relationship, and so in the beginning, I was just seeking after that, and always praying to God. Lord, when am I going to meet them? I was very anxious, and the Lord dealt with me about being anxious. He dealt with me out of Philippians, be anxious for nothing, but in all things through prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, make your request made known unto God. But it took me almost a year and a half of God pressing that in me, where I actually got it. He took me step by step through that scripture until I actually got it, and I stopped being anxious. And that's when I met Bishop Jason. And so I was just cool. It was like I had learned to love myself and be by myself, and that it was okay to be alone. And it got to the place where I was kind of stingy with my time. I wasn't so anxious about allowing somebody else to come in. And so when we met, again, we were just friends for some time. And I had told God, I don't want no more preacher. I don't want no more pastor. Lord, just let him be saved. That's at that point, I was just, Lord, just let him be saved. And, just being friends over time. Like I said, sometimes you just can't tell. I can't tell you what day it happened. I can't tell you what moment it happened. I can't tell you what incident it was that made me say, "Oh yeah, he's the one." It just happened. It just happened. We were friends, and we were hanging and chilling and what have you, and it just happened. And I know we always have these preconceived notions of what it is that we want, how we want it, and all of that stuff. But really, what we think we want, we really don't know what we want, and surely we do not know what we need. And that is why it is so important that we really trust God through the process, because life will hand you
some things, and tall, dark, and handsome may not be able to fulfill what is necessary when those things in life transpire. Especially the older you get, you get in life, people think they always going to be able to pop it, drop it, and make it hot. They think they're always going to be able to have 26 inches down in behind, and all of that good stuff. But the truth of the matter is that there are some emotional and spiritual things, and some of the things that really attracted me to him was his family, how close knit they were, and they still are. It is absolutely incredible. I grew up with both parents in my home until my dad passed away. The fact that his mother and father are just, they ride so hard for their kids. I mean, we would literally be on a date, and going to his parents' house was like the norm for us. So it
Okay.
was the family connection that really attracted me to him. And I think the thing that really, really did it for me is that I realized just how much of a fear of God he had in him. And I only learned that over time. And what that told me was that no matter what happens in our lives, he has such a fear of God that I know there's some things he just won't do. There's just some things I don't have to worry about because I know he fears God, and I know he hears from God, and I've just seen it. I've witnessed it myself as a spectator. And so that was one of the things that really, and even to this day, that, even when we have our tough times, I just always remember the conviction that he feels and how he is literally in fear of God. And I watch him with fear and trepidation handle things with the church, handle things with our children, handle things, what have you. He'll come and tell me something off the wall God told me. And at first I used to, I'd be like, okay, God told him,
Mhm.
all right. But then God was like, he was backing homie up. And I was like, oh, wait a minute now. He got some connection with God. I mean,
Yeah.
I was literally seeing some things that, he was telling me God told him to do. And I literally was like, but later on, I had to come back and repent and say, babe, I just didn't get it. And it's happened so many times. So it was that. I don't want to run on, but that's what it was. Those were the real things for me. It certainly wasn't about looks. It certainly wasn't about what he bought me. It certainly wasn't about any of those things, because after you come out of a divorce, honey, you get past what they look like. You get past what they can buy for you. You get past how they make you feel. You get past all of that. Divorce will deliver you
Yeah.
out of your expectations.
Okay. I love the things that you talked about. You talked about character, and the more weighty matters.
Mhm.
I want to ask this question to the men that comes to mind. Some women say it's very, very difficult these days to find a good man. It's very hard to get married. Why are some men commitment shy? And that's directed to the men. If the men can answer that question.
Bishop,
Bishop,
you answer it first. Bishop, you
come
want to
on,
answer first, or
Bishop
you want me to
Designate
go?
Daniels.
All right. So you said, why are some men commitment shy?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think most of it comes from. I think it comes from some of it comes from upbringing.
Okay.
We've been, I come from a generation where you were taught that you needed to get as many women on your mantle as you could.
Mhm.
That was the thing. How many did you get? And I think I'm talking from my generation. I think many people, um, many men, they think that quantity means more than quality.
Yes.
And you know, um, I've come to find out over the years, thank God I got married, because it's just too much work uh, to be running here, running there, you know. But I think the commitment issue is that's one of them, that they don't want to be monogamous. They want to
Yeah.
go out, they want to have as many women as they can. I think it's also a fear. I think there's a fear, underlying fear of being committed to one person. I mean, listen, if we really look at it, to be
Mm-hmm.
committed to one person for the rest of your life, that
Yeah.
is such the commitment. And I think many men, they think that they're gonna miss out. If they commit to one woman, they think that they're gonna miss out on other women that could possibly be. But when you understand purpose,
Mm-hmm.
commitment, trust, and when you understand God ordained relationship, you'll understand that once God puts the right one in front of you, you won't have to worry about if you miss the boat on
Come on
two
here,
or
Bishop.
three, or you
Yes.
won't have to worry about when you understand that
Yes.
God, when God sends the person for you in your life, it doesn't matter what she look like over there. You'll say, okay, she pretty, but she not my wife.
There you go.
You'll say, yeah, she or he's handsome, but that's not my husband. And
Right.
you know, so that's what I believe. That's why I believe the commitment uh, for men, it's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, for every man, what they said, there's 4 women now. If it's like 4 to 1, 5 to 1, I think that's the ratio now. So it makes it very difficult for a man to commit. And the last thing I want to say is the women out there need to make it more difficult for them
Mm.
to make it more, don't make it so easy for them not to commit.
Yes.
Don't make it so easy for them not to commit. I mean, some of the women out here are just treating these men as if they are their husbands. You're doing husband things and you're a girlfriend. So you need to understand that sometimes I just want to throw that little caveat in there. Bishop, I'm getting out your way. I know you're coming down the track.
Come on here, Bishop. Talk to us.
No, 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 no. I'm your amen corner. It spot on. Uh, Men are not reared for commitment.
Mm-hmm.
We're reared to
Mm-hmm.
conquer. Uh, Nature of is your hunt. If you actually apply the biblical matrix to relationship,
You're going in and out a little bit. I don't know if
monogamy
you can lean in a little.
is a new uh, all of the Old Testament. You, you
Bishop Daniels, you going in and out.
judged by your ability to, for no matter wives and conquer. And we
Bishop,
drag
Bishop Daniels, you're going in
the
and
Old
out.
Testament. Uh, uh, uh,
You can't hear him, right, Bishop McCann?
Concept into the New Testament.
Yeah, he's going in. He's going in and out,
Yeah, he's going in and out. Bishop Daniels, can you hear me?
and he got some good stuff. I'm hearing the pieces that he's saying is so good.
It is good. Bishop Daniels, I don't know if you can
Uh,
fix your connection, but you're going in and out, so it's very hard for us to hear, to connect the thoughts that you're conveying. But I'll go back to the mechanics. So I'll come back to you, Bishop Daniels. All right. So to the mechanics, when we talk about getting married, so many times we plan so much for the wedding day. I mean, we get the dress, we got sometimes 20 folk in our court. for the bride and groom, but we don't put a lot of effort into actually planning for the marriage. How do you plan? How do you set goals? What is it that you need to be looking at if you say, okay, we are going to go to the altar and say I do? Pastor McCants, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. I think you're absolutely right, and we see it all the time. People invest so much money and time and attention into putting on a performance for the wedding day, not even so much for their spouse or to make a wonderful presentation, but to impress people.
Yes.
The wedding day is one day. The marriage is forever. And if we spend as much time, some people take up to 2 years to plan for their wedding day.
Yes.
If we took up to 2 years to plan for the marriage, we would have healthier marriages on the wedding day.
Come
We would
on.
have healthier marriages down the road. Some of the things people always talk about how money is is like the major problem in a marriage.
Mhm.
Yes, money is a major problem in most marriages. It's not addressed, it's not dealt with beforehand during the planning period. But there also, we mentioned earlier about character things. We need to understand the character of who it is that we're marrying. You can't even get a government job or a job on Wall Street without them running a credit check.
That's
The reason why they run a credit check on you for high risk positions in the government or high risk positions in corporate firms is because they want to make sure that they mitigate the risk of you mishandling or misusing their assets.
yes.
In order for you to execute and do well what they're bringing you on or hiring you to do, they need to make sure that you have character and integrity.
Hmm.
And if you fail to pay your bills at home, or if you owe the federal government or what have you, um, you run the risk of using their assets and resources in order to make good on things that you have not done otherwise. But when we come into a marriage, we don't even give it that much due diligence.
That's right.
As in determining someone's credit. I'm not saying go print your credit report off and give it to me like I'm hiring you, but we ought to both be coming to the table with credit reports to say, here are my financial obligations. Here are my commitments. You get to see
Yeah.
my history in paying my bills, and not just credit reports. But what I'm saying is, we need to do the same due diligence. We spend time going for tastings for a wedding to have the food and cake just
Yeah.
right. We go for fittings to get a wedding dress. How about we do some fittings as it pertains to how well you fit
Yeah.
into the groove of the mate you're getting ready to marry. Maybe you're a daytime person, they're a nighttime person. Doesn't make it wrong. Maybe you are an outgoing person, that person is introverted. It's cute when you're dating, right? Oh, you just
Hmm.
want to sit home, and you're willing to do it because you want him or her. So you're willing to do it now. But what happens when you're 2 years, 3 years down the road, you done got him, he got you, y'all committed, you got paper and money between you, maybe even children, right? It ain't cute now because now you want to get out and he still wants to stay home, but you accepted it in the beginning and vice versa. Didn't have a problem with her going out before, but now it poses a problem. See, you didn't go for the fittings, right? Because at fittings, you get adjusted for the dress, right?
Yeah.
They buy the dress a little bigger than the size you give them. And when it comes in, you go for several fittings until you get to the final fitting. So you
Mm.
need to do that as well with your mate. You need to get some fittings. How many? I saw somebody posted it the other day. It was a nice little cliche. You need to know your mate in every season before you commit, right? How do
That's
they
good.
act in the winter? How do they act in the fall? How do they act in the spring and the summer? That's important. It seems like a cute cliche, but it's true. How do they act under pressure? How do they act when they don't have enough money to pay the bills? How do they act when things don't quite go right? What happens when they can't have their way? Fittings. These are fittings. right? Where you need to go and get adjustments made. And all fittings are not comfortable fittings. You know, the time we put into not just fittings and going for tastings of the
Yeah.
food or what have you, hiring the right DJ and the right photographer. Have we hired the right people to support us in our marriage? So you're gonna go back to your unsaved friend and talk about your marriage when trouble starts,
Mm.
right? Are you bringing mental challenges into a marriage? You need to know who's in the family. How much, you know, mental retardation do they have in their family? How much, you know, different emotional things do you see in that family?
Yeah.
It's there. You
Yeah.
know, look at the mama, look at the daddy. We say those things all the time, but these things are right. So people put a lot of time and attention into the wedding day, but they fail at the marriage because they don't think putting that much time into the marriage is as important. You know, if you love God and don't have a time limit when it comes to God, and you marry somebody who's barely there,
Mhm.
you know, oh, I can get them saved, you know, I can get them to the church, but then you're
Mhm.
frustrated. You can't change anyone.
Yes. That people need to understand what you just said is so extremely powerful that you cannot change anybody. If they don't want to change, they will not change. What you just said about those fittings was awesome. Bishop McCants, talk to us.
No, she was right. Especially, we always looking at the physical. And listen, I mean, physical. Listen, I think everybody on here, we looked at the physical at one point or another, but you need to understand it goes deeper than that because, listen, these looks going to fade away. I know people don't like to say that, but they're going to fade to a degree, and you have to have something more that's skin, that's more than just skin deep with a person. I know people. I've heard women say, "Oh, he got to have a 6-pack." No, how about he have at least a 600 credit score?
Whoa,
I
all
mean,
right.
you know, we worried about 6-packs and nice hair, but no, let's look at the credit score because listen, down the line you may want to live in a house, you may not want to live in an apartment anymore. So as First Lady said, these are very you need to have fittings, and I think that was a great point. We need to definitely make sure that when we're looking, that we follow the Bible way. Women, let women be found. Let the man find you. Don't go out here trying to make anything up. Don't go out here trying to form. Let yourself be found and be presentable.
Mm-hmm.
Be presentable. Look
Mm-hmm.
like you want to be found.
Yeah.
Look like you want to be found.
You know, Bishop said something earlier, and I so want to hear what Bishop Daniels was getting ready to say because he was hitting that thing right out the park.
Yeah,
But
he
he
was
said
he was
earlier,
going in. Yes.
in
Right.
reference to the point you made about why men don't want to commit, and I'm not a man, so I can't speak from a man's perspective, but as women, we check other women and we know why she's still the other woman. We know why they're living together and so long, but they've never gotten married. You know, again, and Bishop said it in a way that we're familiar with, but hey, listen, why should he commit when being uncommitted got him everything he needs?
Come
And
on.
sometimes we go into this stuff with our eyes wide open. You can't tell me you didn't know. All your sister girlfriends saw it. We all saw it,
We all
but you
saw
didn't.
it.
But you didn't. No, because you wanted to be fooled. You wanted to believe that every time he said, oh, I had a bellyache, my God, you wanted to believe that. So it's not, I don't think it's so much that men are don't want to be committed more than why should they when we make it so easy? And Bishop Daniels was going to talk about the roles. So I'm not even going to run past him. But he was going to talk about the roles and how we were naturally made. So I'm going to just digress. I need that.
Whew. The mechanics, the two of you are on fire. Okay. Bishop Daniels, I know you were talking about lack of commitment with some men. With some men, if you could just touch on that, and then we were talking about how do you set goals and plan in marriage because so often we spend so much time planning the wedding more so than we do for a lifetime commitment of marriage. Bishop Daniels.
Um, okay, let me see. If I don't want to be redundant, but I don't know where I cut out. What I
We
was
really
saying
didn't hear what you said, so go ahead.
okay,
Yeah, we didn't hear you. We want to hear it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. What I was saying was is it's not often discussed that monogamy is really something that was not introduced to the family dynamic until the New Testament. Uh, Throughout the Old Testament, polygamy was not only allowed; it was rewarded. Your wealth was measured by the amount of wives and concubines that you could support. Uh, we've taken that Old Testament ideology and brought it into the New Testament church, and we have not understood that the difference is between the Old Testament and the New Testament that we're referred to as husbands as the priest of our home or
Yes.
as the bishop of our homes.
Yes.
And Paul tells Timothy that if any man desires the office of a bishop, he has to be the husband of one wife. So
Yes.
that changes the whole, you know, framework. And not to get into a theological thing, but that all know that that word bishop there does not mean the episcopacy. It deals with the ruling elder or the ruling one of the home of the church.
Yes.
So it shows your ability to commit.
Hmm.
Uh, in the New Testament, Christ tells us to love our wives as he loved the church.
Yes, it does.
That command's not put on men in the Old Testament. Uh, we see them laying with women that they had no emotions for and not being judged by God. Look at the Rachel and Leah dynamic, where
Hmm.
there was no punishment for laying with a woman that you didn't even recognize who she was after the deal was done.
Hmm.
But now Christ tells us to love our wives as he loved the church and that he gave his life for the church.
Yes.
Uh, we're not taught that. We're not taught the spiritual impact of being polyamorous. We're not taught the spiritual ramifications of intimacy and sexuality.
Yes.
That it's more than just your physical man involved, it's your spirit man. And
Yes.
that when God wanted to institute worship, he set up Moses' tabernacle and he set up worship to almost mirror how the intimate relationship was supposed to be
Hmm.
between a man and a woman, because it was when you entered into the holies of holies that that was the only time that blood was shed, and it was supposed to be the sealing of the marriage covenant by the piercing of the hymen and by the shedding of blood, which meant that a covenant had been entered into. But we don't teach it from there. We teach people it's better to marry than to burn,
Yes.
but we don't tell them that marriage doesn't put the fire out.
Mm.
Um,
That's
because if you don't deal with yourself
that's good.
as a fornicator, you'll become an adulterer.
That's
Um,
good.
so it's not the marriage that does it; it's the discipline that does it. The church has to teach men and women, but I'm a man, so I'll talk for men. We have to teach men discipline. We
Yes.
have to teach them how to be satisfied.
Come on.
I tell men and I tell women when a man cheats or he's unfaithful to a relationship, it does not necessarily have anything to do with the woman.
Right.
It's a void in the man
Right.
that
Mm.
he's trying to fill by being involved with somebody. You can be, listen, somebody cheated on Janet Jackson.
Hmm.
Somebody cheated on Halle Berry. So it has nothing to do with your physical makeup. It has to do with that man and his ability to be satisfied.
Yes.
So now when you deal with the expectations, I think that's a slippery slope because your expectations are specific to your relationship. Um, what one may expect, another may not expect. I know men that they expect their wife to cook for them every night and never feed them on a paper plate. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, that's not my expectation.
Right.
My wife and I both work, so there's times we look at each other like, "Hey, let's go get Chinese," and I'm not upset.
Right.
That's my level of expectation.
Right.
Uh, we need to take the fantasy off of marriage
Yes, we do.
and deal with it from a real point of view.
Yes.
Yes.
That it's not going to be a fairy tale.
No.
It's
Um,
not.
My
you know,
God.
yeah,
It's not.
you know, it may be a horror story
Right.
sometimes.
Right.
Um,
That's the truth.
you know, in it, if you stick with it long enough with the right person,
Hmm.
it has the ability to turn around. Um, you know, had we given in to our bad moments, we wouldn't be here.
No.
That's
But there was something worth fighting for.
Yep.
hmm
So your expectation has to be there's going to be an outcome out of this if we can just hang on to it.
Right.
hmm
As Pastor McCann said, know who you're marrying.
Yes.
Know who you're getting involved with. Know you don't marry an individual, you marry their family.
Yes, you do.
You need to understand their family dynamic and what they can have to offer, and you need to know uh, where they need you. Last point. I'm sorry, I'm being long-winded, but I'm making up for the
No,
time
no.
that I got kicked off. When my wife and I got married, as she stated, she came out of an abusive marriage.
hmm
I knew not that I could heal her, but I intently was to do her no harm.
That's right.
I never wanted to remind her of what she came out. So when there were moments when I wanted to lash, I wanted to raise my voice, I had to purposely tell myself, you can't do that because you'll remind her of where she's been.
That's right.
And my job is to point her to where she's supposed to go, never to remind her of where she's been.
You could make me just run around my office right now. Go ahead, Bishop. I'm sorry. That the stuff you just dropping is just awesome. Go ahead.
And I'm done. I'm long-winded, and I'm just making up for the time. But that has to be your job. Just love. You can't heal them. That's not my job.
hmm
I'm not your healer, but I'm not there to do you any further harm.
Yeah.
And to hold, maybe let's look at it like this: hold the pieces together until God can heal. So don't allow you to be broken apart anymore, and to be what you need. We don't really talk about it, but remember, Sarah called Abraham Lord.
Yes.
And that has to be the kind of stance that you take. Not that I'm lording over you,
hmm
but that anything you need, you don't have to turn to anybody else. If I don't have it, I'll find a way to get it. If I can't find a way to get it, you don't need it.
Lady Daniels. Lady Daniels.
Yes.
The things that he is saying is profound. And these are the things that we need to hear, that we need to be counseled about before we get into marriage. Most people, I bet you, if we were to take a survey, would say right now, I never heard those things in premarital counseling, if they even went to premarital counseling.
Right.
The things that are being even discussed tonight. So many people would say, this is new to me. I never even heard this before.
Right.
Go ahead, Lady Daniels.
What am I commenting on what he's talking about? What am I commenting on? I'm still lost in what he said.
I know he said so much.
Because he says so much.
He said so. He talked about lack of commitment with men. He talked about infidelity, why that happens. He talked about planning. And that you're marrying more than just a person, you're marrying the family. So whatever perspective that you want to take it from.
From the perspective of even marrying the family, my husband was an only child. So for me, that was a big thing. My mother only has the two of us. It's two girls. So when we started dating, and his mother they were very close. He was very close to his mother. His father had passed, so he took that place to take care of his mother and care for her and be at the ministry and all of that. So in the beginning with us, she was very like, no, 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 I don't know where she's coming from, but she's not getting
Right.
ready to take my son. This is, oh yeah, so it was a struggle there, but I realized more than anything, her and I were a lot alike, more than we were at odds. I just couldn't figure out at first, like, why is it that she doesn't like me? She doesn't like me. She doesn't like me. And it wasn't that she didn't like me. I had to realize I was so much like her that she knew my husband would be attracted to me. So, she did like the older mother thing. She would call me, don't be seen with him in public, and be careful, he's a minister, and you don't want him to look bad, and all of these different things. And I'm like, okay, all right. But I realized why she was so clinging, to him. Her
Yeah.
husband had passed. This was all she had left.
That's right.
And we had a struggle. But I realized the qualities that she put in my husband and who he was as a man, how he watched his father take care of his mother. And he has the same thing. So maybe recently this year, I said to him, I'm so thankful that you don't yell at me. You don't do a lot of fussing at me, all of these different things. And he was just like, I saw my father, how my father handled my mother. So I'm not gonna do you like that.
Yeah.
But the one thing that really out of with attraction and we people talk about the looks and all of that. I'm with Pastor McCants. It's not in the looks. I looked at all of that with his character, and when he stood up and commanded a room, and even now to this day, after 20 something years, hearing him preach, hearing him teach, I'm still amazed sometimes. I'm looking at him like, who are you? Like, where did that come from?
Wow.
When I'm fine too.
I do. Yeah, you cute.
Okay.
You cute. But just,
Wow.
it's like that to me, like to hear him, pray and to teach and to expound on the word in such a way that it ignites the love of the word of God in me even more. I'm
So
like,
never
how did
gets
you find
old.
that? Yeah,
It
how
never
did you
gets
find
old.
that in that scripture? But
Right.
it's all of those things wrapped up in there,
Mhm.
regardless of his mistakes, he still has been a man to really stand and love God and love God's people and love his home and love his family. So those things really are important. And I think if we as women, especially, not just go out, like Bishop McCann said, ladies, don't go out looking for him. Find yourself in that place that you are allowing God to groom you and to get you together, and you find yourself in him, that when he comes, you are in that place that you're complete. You're not looking for him to add to you. You're complete. He's coming to you. You can bring something to the table as well as he brings something. So that's where it is for me.
Okay.
Elder, could I jump in right
Yeah,
there just real quick before you
absolutely.
move? I want to just piggyback off of what she said about when you're coming together, you should never look at yourself as a half coming with another half. You're not
Good.
half of anything. You should be
Mhm.
coming into a relationship as a whole person. And the man that you get with or the woman that you're going to get with should be a whole person. You should not be coming in, you bringing a half and the other person is bringing a half. You need
Mhm.
to find yourself and try to be the most whole person you can in God that you can. And that's the problem. Many of us think that coming in halfway is okay. We
Mhm.
think that coming into a relationship halfway is the right way. But no, you need to be able to come in on your own credit. You need to have your own credit together.
Yeah.
You need to have your own self-esteem together. These are areas you need to work on so that you don't need the other person to try to prop you up or try to lift you up. These are areas that you need to have worked on before you
Mhm.
get into it. You can't look for yourself in another person.
Mm.
I just wanted to throw that real quick in there because she made a great point, and I just want to highlight you can't find yourself in another person.
All right. Somebody needs to type that in the chat. Put that down. Put that down, because sometimes we're looking at someone to be our savior. We're looking for someone to rescue us. And perhaps at times, and I know I've been guilty of it in past relationships that I've had, you want somebody that's going to basically kind of like save you, to help you, bring you to a place that really only God can bring you to. But what I want to talk about is to dovetail on, not only do you have to plan for the marriage, and while you're dating, of course, you're getting to know each other, but how do you not allow insecurity, jealousy, competitiveness to creep into the relationship? So often, if it has a way of coming in, but it comes in very slowly. It comes in and it brings a lot of division, a lot of misunderstanding. So what do? You want to push each other, okay, to fulfill your respective callings, but how do you keep the jealousy, the insecurity, and the competitiveness out of your marriage? Because a marriage can't thrive with any of those things in it. So maybe Bishop McCants or Pastor Cynthia, would you like to start us off?
She's probably off out. She could jump in.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you need to, if you allow the competitiveness to come between you and your spouse, that means that Jesus is not in the midst of it. Because you have to always remember, when it comes to ministry, especially when it comes to being married in ministry, this there is no, and especially, and I'm going to say this, especially in our New York area, it is the competition spirit is so prevalent in New
It's
York.
heavy. Yes,
I,
it's heavy.
yeah, and I know it's everywhere, but
Mhm.
it's nothing like New York. It is so competitive. And one thing I would say is this: don't let the people split you up, because the people are gonna, that's the first sign that people are gonna try to put a competitive wedge in there. They're gonna try to
Yes.
have their favorite. Oh, Bishop, you were so wonderful today. Oh, Bishop, you preach so well. You gotta watch it, because people will always, they're gonna be the first line of trying to put a wedge in your marriage, especially
Yes.
when you're married and you're a team. They're gonna have their, some are gonna love. Listen, there's some people that love to hear my wife, and they love her, and she's awesome and she's powerful. And then there's some people in my church, they're like, well, Bishop, yeah, I enjoy Pastor, but are you preaching next Sunday? And
Right.
that's
Right.
the thing you have to be careful of. And my thing is, there should never be competition between you and your wife. And yes, if you let it, but it should never get there, because you should always remember who we're serving,
Mm-hmm.
why we're doing this. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
let me just say this: with all the stuff that me and my wife go through, I don't have time to be competitive
Okay.
with my wife. I need her on my team.
Yes.
listen,
Mhm.
listen. I need her on my team. I don't need her off my team. I don't need her on the sideline. I don't need her thinking that I'm kicking her off the team. No, I need her on my team, because
Mhm.
there's just too many people that I got to go through to try to vet to see if I can put them on the team. I don't have time
Yeah.
for that. I know I can trust her.
Amen. Now, Pastor Cynthia, we were talking about how did we keep insecurity, jealousy, and competition out of the
I heard
marriage? Come on here.
no troubles. I mean, you guys mind me putting the
It's
camera
okay.
off, just taking care of my kids while we transit. So, my thing is I think it's part of what we were talking about earlier in terms of it being spending that time before you commit to marriage, doing that due diligence. Seeing that person in different times of their lives. That's why you need to give it time. I know I'm not saying that God can't do a quick work, but time is your ally. It's not your enemy. And so when you take your time to get to know people in different scenarios and different situations, then you're not caught off guard after you've made a commitment, right? I know what to expect now. I know they're not good under pressure. Or I know they're not good with short deadlines, or they got to plan everything out and I'm spontaneous. Um, that's the time that you really need to vet. You can't cover me and
That's
be in
good.
competition with me at the same time. You know, there's no way that you can possibly be my covering, be my husband, and be in competition with me. It's impossible. It's like saying you're the blanket that covers me, but the
Mm,
blanket is jealous of me. That means that the blanket is either going to leave my feet out or leave my head out. You can't possibly resent me or be
yeah,
jealous of what I do, but your role is to protect me
yeah,
while I do it. The Bible says that, you know, he that finds a wife finds the good thing. But he said, it is not good for man to be alone. Let us make him a helpmeet. That means that the woman or the wife is meant to help
hmm,
him. And oftentimes women they complain about what he doesn't have and what he doesn't do and who he is not and all of these different things. First of all, sometimes you got to wonder, is this what you brought together or is what God brought together? Because you make that commitment that says what the Lord has brought together, let no man put asunder.
yeah,
The question becomes, did he bring it together? The other thing is then, if you were meant, he said, let us make him a helper, a helpmeet. That means that your role, your job, your function is to be a helper.
yeah,
Clearly, he realized that there was something that wasn't good about man being by himself. So he made a helper. And so if there's a deficiency that you see in him, then understand it's not for you to complain about it, but see where you fill in the gap, right? As a
that's
helper.
good.
Maybe it's not that he's bad, maybe it's that you're not a good helper.
Come
So when it
on.
comes to being in competition and being jealous, these are some things that should have been identified during the vetting process. And
Hmm.
then maybe he hasn't really identified that you're his good thing, or you know, that you are the helper that has been sent. I
Hmm.
understand my role. I understand who I'm meant to be in my husband's life from my perspective, because I've had a lot of sisters hit me up. I've had a lot of sisters, friends of mine, want to know why I take on certain positions with my husband. You know, people have come and said, "Oh, well, I know that was your idea, or I know that was you, or whatever." I don't get twisted about it because I understand that they don't understand. I
Okay.
know who I am to my husband. Now,
Yeah.
whoever you are to Johnny Boo Boo, or whatever you do for your man, or the fact that you're not even married, is a clear indication that you don't understand. You are meant to be his helper.
Okay.
Okay, so then, you know, it's not that I'm taking a back seat. You know, hey, I'm pro sister too. I'm pro woman too. But
Hmm.
you know, what makes me who I am is that when he asked me to marry him, that meant that the Lord said, "I've set you aside to be his helper." That means that whatever gifts he's given into me, he's given those gifts to him through me.
All right.
So even if there was a sign of some kind of, you know, jealousy or competition or whatever, then that's not something to look down on. That's just an area where I need to smooth that thing. Because when I
Mm,
get too high and mighty, then I've given him a reason to feel threatened. I've given him a reason to feel like he needs to be in competition with me or something like that. You know, I don't care where I go. I was preaching before my husband met me. I was ordained before my husband met me. I had a
right.
following when my husband met me and married
Right.
me. But when I married him, every time I get up, I say, I'm here with the permission of my husband, pastor, bishop, whatever. I always speak of him. I speak well of him all the time because I realize, first of all, I don't have no business being nowhere that he has not released me to be.
Mm.
Okay, because I'm his helper. I'm
Woo!
someplace I ain't got no business being, and I'm his helper. Right? So, you know, so if there is a sign of some kind of insecurity, because all of us are insecure about certain things, we can't say we ain't never felt
All
no
right.
kind of way or whatever. But so then that's my job. Baby, listen, I'm only doing this to make sure we're good. But if
Yeah.
I've already discussed it with him, I've already removed the option or the ability for him to feel any kind of way about it. Because I
Hmm.
got to talk about this thing first. I got to have permission. I can't be off somewhere. A good idea does not make it a God idea.
All
You
right.
know, and I may have all the greatest intentions in the world, but men, I think Bishop Dan said earlier, men are hunters. The role that men play, they're the covering, they're the seed provider, right? I'm just the carrier.
Come on.
so that I've got to make sure I'm not someplace where I don't have my power with me. I don't have my covering. I don't have my authority. If I'm off somewhere I shouldn't be, and I get a flat tire, my car break down, baby, can you come? Well, where you at? Well, what you doing over there? Well, I would have told you not to go, or I would have taken you, or I would have told you to go another time. Because he's thinking as a man, I'm thinking as a woman, because I'm the helper. It doesn't make me less. It makes me better.
Yes. Phenomenal, phenomenal. The knowledge that you just dropped. Let's go now to Bishop and Lady Daniels.
So for me, there has not been an area where I just agree with the McCants. I don't have it where I look at it as a competition. Like I said in the beginning, I believe that when God brought us together, yes, I am his help. And then whatever else that he needs, nobody's going to scream louder for him than me. When he preaches, and people will say it, even when we used to go live with our services, nobody's going to talk or amen him more than me, and not just to be doing it, but I believe in who he is. I believe in what he's saying. I believe in what he's doing. Now I do understand, like Bishop McCants said, there are where times you have to be careful, because people will try to sow seeds of discord and jealousy in your marriage, in ministry. And it's not just always even members. When I was traveling to minister and to sing, it was a lot of times that, different people and different ministries, would try to say, oh, I watched how you worked for Cliff Daniels. Cliff Daniels had you working on Sunday nights when, we would visit your church and you be up there just singing. And I said, Cliff just work her so hard. And I said, do you understand that he doesn't work me, that is my place? I am the worship leader there. That is my assignment to the house. And that is the assignment to make the way for the Lord before my husband gets up. The atmosphere is set. That is my position. That's what God gave me to do. And so I didn't let that get to my head. I didn't let that, because that's what a lot of marriages go through.
Yes.
The women start, coming into their relation, into their ministries, different things, and here come people want to say, oh, well, your husband holding you back. So and so said you'd have been further up the road had you not been with your husband. What kind of demonic thing is that?
Come on.
To say to a woman or to anyone in ministry married, to say, oh, you would have been further up the road. I said, actually, I wouldn't have. God would have killed me, I think, if I had not been with him. My ministry would not be where it is had I not been attached and connected to this.
Preach, Lady Daniels.
Absolutely out of order. So we have to be careful that we don't start thinking we're more than what we are. My husband's jealous of me. That's the devil. Your husband is not jealous of you. That is who, like she said, covers your anointing, covers your ministry. And no, people ask me now, Lady Daniels, will you come and minister so-and-so? Actually, no. My husband said and has warned us, we are in the midst of a pandemic. I am sorry, I cannot come and travel out because it's not safe right now. I'm listening to my covering. People say, oh, well, are you afraid that, people are not going to call you no more? I don't expect people to call me. God called me. So wherever I'm supposed to minister, if I can't minister for you virtually, it's not meant for me to be there in person. My covering said it's not wise. I'm listening to my husband. I will not be caught out there and uncovered and then something happened to me. So we have to understand, it's not a dominant thing or, oh, he's over me and he's not letting you do anything. Absolutely not. He has my best interests at heart. And I believe he hears God for me. And likewise, when I know something is not right, I say to him, I don't know, that may not be good. And he will listen. But it's not the thing of we're in competition. I'm better because of Cliff Daniels. And my ministry, was birthed out by this man. I wasn't doing praise and worship. I wasn't even really thinking about that. He called me out of not doing anything really, but just saying, it's okay. I'll be his wife. I'll help him. I'll serve in the kitchen. I'll just do hospitality. But he's the one that pulled me out. And
Mhm.
so I would dare not think where I am, or if I'm able to minister in this capacity, that it's not because of who God connected me to and who I'm married to. So no jealousy, no competition. That is of the enemy. When people come to you and try to sow that, you have to be careful, especially us as women, because
Yeah.
our vulnerability sometimes get the best of us. And we don't know how to just say, nah, girl, Dion, relax, get yourself together. That's off. We
Mhm.
got to be able to talk to ourselves and not think that our husband is trying to lord or keep us down. But in the end, I'm where I am because of my honor and commitment to him.
Mhm.
It makes me look through to their marital relationship or the
Yes.
lack thereof.
Yes.
When people challenge me, I mean, my listen. If I just had to stop preaching altogether because this is where I needed to be, how much more should I be able to go and do in somebody else's church that I'm not doing at my own church?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? And what makes you an authority on what happens over here? Because
Right.
once I come and deliver what you're asking me to deliver over there, you're not looking at me no more
No.
until I can do something for you.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it makes me look through to their relationship. And it makes
Yes.
sense to me,
Yes.
why your wife is in bondage and miserable.
Yes.
Your children are running amok, or you got a wife and a girlfriend, or whatever the
Right.
case may be.
Right.
It makes me, I get it.
And
Because you're
don't be
asking me to dishonor my home like you dishonored your home.
exactly. And that's the thing. We as women can't be silly women to just feel like because you get a little compliment. That's no, I'm not flattered by another, man or whatever saying, oh, I look at you and, you with Cliff Daniels and you so beautiful. I'm beautiful, but I'm beautiful to Cliff Daniels. You trying to flatter me to tell me I'm beautiful to make me think I'm just going to be like, oh, really? He tells me I'm beautiful every day with a rag on my head, with no makeup on, and
That's
I'm just
right.
around the house with sweatpants on. I'm
Yes.
still beautiful. I don't need
I
that. And
love
we
it.
as women got to know who we are and not think just because somebody's trying to flatter you, like she said, that's some kind of cycle that you've been, they've been in, and you need to look and see through that. So no, if I would have done that, I would have crumbled everything in my life, because that just with that alone, to try to come in between my marriage, to try to, oh, just, oh, Lady Daniels, Bishop don't know it. Yeah, Bishop does know what he has. Thank you.
Yeah,
God bless you.
some people say stuff to the wife or to the
Right,
husband, but they say it because it's not you they're coming for.
right.
It's him they're coming for.
It's
Come
him.
Some
on.
things are said
Yeah.
to you to belittle him.
Yeah.
So if you embrace it, if you endorse it,
I was just about to jump in on that. I was just about to
it
put
gives
this.
them what
Okay.
they
Yeah.
want,
Mhm.
right? So now he or she feels like now they have a finger in your home because they're able to pull you away.
Mhm.
And it's really not about you. It's about you. See, he really don't run his house. See, he's so and so. See, it's really not about you.
Yes.
You cannot. I'm gonna say it the way Lady Daniels didn't say it. You cannot be thirsty. You cannot be thirsty. If you're not getting enough smooches at home or enough baby you pretty at home or whatever, listen, change it up, figure it out, unlock him, and you'll get what you need from home. But you can't be out looking for that because I promise you, somebody is looking to fulfill what you think you want, and they'll say it just the way because you sending out signals. You're sending out signals. You're giving people time and attention that don't deserve your time and
And
attention.
men and we and men know how to pick out the signals.
Yes.
Men are hunters, as Bishop said. They know how to smell blood in the water. They know
Yeah.
when you looking. Men know when you looking.
That
Listen,
is so
one of
true.
one of the best things that divorce will do for you, divorce will clean up your act if you really want to be well. Divorce will clean up your act. When you come up out of some stuff, when you come up out of something that broke down and didn't work, it will clean you all the way up. You will, honey, it will clean up your thirst. It will clean up your can't get your hormones under control. It will gather you. Because there's certain things that you would have gone for hook, line, and sinker beforehand. But when you've already had a disaster, especially when you're a man and woman of God and you've been out there, come on, your credibility is shot. You got to restore that credibility. Unless you bring credibility back to your role and your position, you've injured the kingdom and you've been selfish about cleaning up your act. And it doesn't matter if you came out of it and you were the offended or you were the victim. It doesn't matter if they offended you and you were the victim. It's still a broken relationship and you are still a public figure. It's how you come out of it. And you've got to realize, and I said this to lady earlier, you've got to realize that just because you're healing and you're getting past it, all the people who have ministered, that you've ministered to, all the people that you have preached to, guess what? They suffered the divorce with you.
Yes, they did.
They went to your banquets. They sent you cards. They sold money into you and your marriage. And even though the marriage is broken up now, listen, they're still healing. So, you know, there's something about divorce. I'm not saying this is the way to go. I'm not saying this is the avenue. But what I'm saying is there are some positive things that you come out of it with. It's just some stuff you're just not going to do. I'm over it. I'm done. Listen, I can't afford no more L's. I took this one. I got this L. I can't afford any more L's. And even if I feel like this is the breaking point and whatever I'm in, I've got to realize what I didn't fight for the last time, I got to fight for it this time because I got too much at stake. There's too many other people watching this.
Yes.
And I can't get up and still have my witness. My witness is in danger if I don't heal properly before the people and show the people I've had an L in my life. And the only way I can be effective for you to continue to minister to you is allow the Lord to fix me and learn my lessons of divorce.
And you can't keep throwing relationships away. Once you done been through a bad marriage and it's been on display, and now you in this second one or you in the second marriage now, you can't just say, okay, I'm throwing my hands up just like you did on the other one. Because now you've got all these people invested in you. You've got all these people watching you. So now your witness, your voice, the legitimacy of your voice, of the message that comes out of your mouth is on the line.
Yes. If you want to have a testimony, you want a platform instead of creating a ministry platform for yourself. You want a platform, stand up and tell the truth about your biggest disaster.
Okay.
Stand up and tell the truth about your biggest disaster. You want a platform? God gave you a platform. But some of us are too ashamed to talk about our failures. And our failure is our platform. You don't have to work hard when you work with what God gave you. If you want a platform, stand up and show other believers, other leaders, yes, I suffered a divorce. It was public. I was a preacher. He was a preacher, whatever. But guess what? It wasn't beautiful, but we got to live together. I got to speak well of him. And mean it. You can heal after divorce, and you can still be well with one another. You have to show, if you want to show people something, show people how God brought you out and delivered you out of your worst disaster.
Okay.
All the people who know me from back, they know my story. Ain't no way I can go around lying. So guess what? I've got to show not just what happened then. I've got to show a better ending. I've got to show that we have a working relationship now. How I pray for he and his wife. You understand? I'm not still pulling up the past of what happened. I'm showing them what God can do when you are willing to be healed.
Okay.
I've got to show that I'm worthy of the Lord giving me another chance.
Yes. Yes. I want the ladies right here. I just need to pause. If there's a woman on the line, or a woman that will be watching this on the replay, can you give an encouraging word, Lady Daniel? Let's say there's a woman here that's insecure. Maybe she feels less than her spouse. Maybe she feels she doesn't have anything to bring to the table. Maybe there's been members of her own congregation that have spoken against the marriage or tried to, come in between. What words of encouragement would you give to lift her up?
I would say this, know that your plan and the plan for your life is really in God. It is not something that you have to try to make happen. Again, I would say, find yourself in that place that you love you. We all fight, and there's always a fight, to really know who you are, to love you, to accept you. You know, it's not even your outer exterior, even accepting even some of the things that have happened and healing.
Yeah.
I was thinking the other day just about remembering sometimes some of the ugly things that were said or some of the ugly things that were done, some of the things that I've done myself and not proud of, throughout my life, but realizing that God knew all along and still I was in the plan of God. Everything was to bring me to that hope and that future that he promised me, that expected end that he's taking me to. So it all was working for me, even though I didn't like it. It didn't make me feel good. I had to realize all that time he was fashioning me,
Yes.
Dion, not Lady Daniels, not Cliff Daniels' wife, not
Okay.
my children's mother. He was fashioning Dion all along to usher me into this grace that he had for me, this
Yes.
over my life, not trying to be somebody else or till somebody else's ground. He had specifically where he needed me to be. So I would say to any lady, don't linger in regret or feeling like you never will. You got to turn down the noise of negativity of others who've had bad experiences, that have not healed,
That's
that
good.
have not come into a place of peace with themselves
Mhm.
and even with the plan of God. We got a lot of people that say they love God, they believe God, but they're not in agreement with the plan of God for their life. That
Mhm.
means even what I go through is in the plan of God. I might suffer a little bit, but it's in the plan of God. I know that he said he's going to bring me out. So I still have to agree with, the way that I take, Lord.
Yeah.
And when you've tried me, I'm coming out as gold. So I would say, lift up yourselves, lift up your countenance, think better about who you are as an individual, as a woman, as a lady. Allow God to pour that oil on you that remakes you, that massages your heart, makes your heart flesh, that it
Mhm.
becomes pliable, and then the Lord is able to really mold you. You can be open to receive, because if you're not, even if that person comes, you won't be ready to receive them. You won't even be in a posture or even have the correct lens to see them, because you're foggy with all of the stuff. You've got everything still cluttering you. You can't see good. So I would say, be encouraged. The person that the Lord has for you will be for you. There are some that will be single. Be satisfied in God. There are times God will set us. We don't teach that there are some that might be single. Everybody may not be
Yeah.
married.
That's right.
Be okay with where God has you at this place or this station in your life, and allow God to just really mold you. Get rid of the bitterness,
Mhm.
let go of the anger, and be healed. It didn't kill you. It came to make you.
Yeah.
So be grateful for that. You've got a testimony to even share with somebody else that's coming.
Yes.
Another young lady, another young woman that's going to need you, and you don't need to do or repeat the cycles that were repeated to you. So I would
Mhm.
just say, lift up yourselves, be content. Find yourself in a place of, God, I just want you to satisfy me, not my
Mhm.
flesh, but satisfy every area of my life, my mind, my body, my spirit, that all of me come into alignment, that it flow in order, that I'm ready to receive who and what that you have for me.
I love it. Pastor Cynthia, what would you say to that woman that's struggling? Same thing, low self-esteem, or she feels less than her husband. Go ahead. Oh, I think we lost her. Yes, I think we lost. She'll be back. Bishop McCants, you could give the male perspective on that. What would you say if there was a
Well,
woman that might be struggling in that area?
I believe that, we have to take the attitude of Paul, whatever state that I'm in,
Hmm.
and you have to take it day by day. That whatever state I'm in, I'm going to be satisfied with God. The other thing is sometimes we can be alone for so long, whether it be a man or a woman, until we become hardened, and we
Yes.
become hard to people wanting to do it, and we can get, when somebody use their hands a lot, they develop calluses, and
Hmm.
sometimes we can become so callous that we can't feel the love and affection. And when someone is trying to just simply love on you,
Yes.
some of us have been hurt so much. God is just trying to send somebody to love on you. No
That's
ulterior motive. Nobody's trying to, set you up to do something wrong.
right.
Sometimes God will send people in your life to start making those calluses and putting enough moisture on you to get those calluses away. And sometimes we need that love of God to
Mhm.
remove those calluses, because sometimes we can become so rough. Because life can make you rough. It can make you rough.
Yeah.
Relationships, bad relationships, can make you rough. Disappointments in relationships, whether it be platonic or romantic, can make you rough. So you
Mhm.
have to be open that God will give you enough people in your life to love on you so that you can start to love yourself. Because sometimes we need people to love on us so that we can learn how to love ourselves again. And then when you start to love yourself, you can go out and be in a platonic relationship or
Mhm.
romantic relationship. Know that God is going to cover you. And why? Because you are securing God. You're not
Good.
securing the person to be securing God for you, but you're securing God.
Good. Good. Pastor Cynthia, you're back.
Yes, I am. My,
Go
my
ahead.
mic wouldn't come
Got
on.
the mic.
No, my mic wouldn't unmute. But listen, I would be redundant because I promise you, Lady Daniel said exactly what I would have said. She hit it on the head,
Yes.
right? She gave the detail behind it. She hit it right in the head. All things work together for the good. So
Mhm.
every experience you are having, or every experience you've had, no matter how bad it may feel now, it's working for your good, and God is going to cause it to work for your good. You could not have told me that a young woman who grew up in a household with her mother and her father, siblings, never knew a life without my mother and my father, that eventually one day I would become a single mother. I was
Mhm.
devastated that I had become a statistic. But you couldn't tell me then what I've seen transpire in my life now. And the question is, Bishop preaches this sermon: can God trust you with trouble? Can God trust you to allow trouble to come into your life so that He can use you for His purpose? And so, to that young lady that might be watching, that may be challenged in who she is, or maybe challenged in feeling not like she's not enough, or wondering why no one wants her, or why someone always cheats on her, or someone has abused her or mishandled her in some way.
Yeah.
I wanted to pull up, I went and got my charger, Psalm 139. But I wanted to just give it to you in the message translation because it's so telling. It says, God, investigate my life. Get all the facts firsthand. I am an open book to you, even from a distance. You know what I am thinking. You know when I leave and when I get back. I'm never out of your sight. You know everything I'm going to say before I start the first sentence. I look behind me and you're there. Then ahead and you are there too. Your reassuring presence coming and going. This is too much, too wonderful. I can't take it all in. I mean, listen, you can go on and read Psalm 139. That was just verses 1 through 6 in the message translation. In essence, wherever you are right now, young woman, older woman, man,
Mhm.
brother, boy, child, wherever you are, this is your story. It's Psalm 139. Wherever you are, no matter what you're going through,
Yeah.
God knows firsthand
Mhm.
And he may not have caused it, but he allowed it. And if you allow him, he'll make it to work for your good. The other thing is in James chapter 1, he says these words that I recall studying this and teaching it in Bible study, and it seems so harsh, it seems so unrealistic. But in that verse 2, he says, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations." And so to whoever I may be speaking to on tonight, you may be saying, "Count it what? You want me to have joy? You want me to count what I'm going through as joy when
Right.
I fall into diverse temptation?" Well, yeah, because there's a promise, right? That's coming. In essence, when I see trouble coming, when I see diverse temptations coming, I know I can rejoice. Why should I rejoice when it's killing me? When it feels like it's sucking the breath out of my body? Well, look at what James says. Look at this promise. He says, "You can count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations." Verse 3, "Knowing this." You can count it joy because you know this, that the
Good.
trying of your faith worketh patience.
Patience.
The trying, this thing is coming to work something through you called patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing.
You
You
teach.
mean to tell me that if I go through this, that God is going to work patience in me? I no longer have to be anxious. But not only that, what? You mean to tell me that I am going to be perfect and entire, wanting for nothing? Is this what this is about to bring about in my life? Yes, according to the scripture. So, ma'am, sir, wherever you are, get up and clap your hands and say, "Lord, it won't be this way always. It will." First of all, you know everything that is happening. I can go ahead and count it all joy because this thing is working for my good. I don't see it, but God is working for my. Don't let me faint before I see the good come. Don't let me give up before the good comes.
Yes.
Don't let me fall out before what you are working in me gets to be perfect, and
Come
that
on,
I'm
Pastor.
wanting for nothing. My God, hold on. I don't care what the world is telling you. I don't care what your situation is telling you. God has not forgotten you. He is right there with you. And if you don't faint, you're going to shout one day, say, "If I knew then what I know now."
My God. You just preached a whole sermon. I need everybody to send up some comments, some hearts, some likes right there, because that was a prophetic word. Both that lady Dion spoke and Pastor Cynthia spoke. That was a prophetic word right there for somebody to encourage, to edify, and to build them up. I need to pivot and to talk about right now, how do we navigate the disagreements, financial, whether it be financial, whether it be sickness, problems with the children? Come on here. We know everything is not going to be just glitter and stars and a walk in the park every day. I wish it were, but that is not going to be the reality. So how do you deal with the disagreements? You don't see eye to eye on certain things. How do you compromise? Because I know, um, I have the panels here to talk, but I know marriage is a ministry of compromise, flexibility, love. I know we talk about yielding one to another. All right. So let's start with Bishop McCants.
Well, we have 6 children. Um, we have one each from our previous relationships, and then we have 4 boys that the Lord allowed us to bring into our lives by way of adoption. And they are all 4 of them are brothers. So we have a 20-year-old, a 17-year-old, and then a 6, 5, 3, and 2. That's what we have.
Wow.
And so when you're talking about uh, disagreements, the best thing sometimes you can do rather than try to, there are times you can try to argue a point to the ground. The best thing you can do is trust your partner and say, okay, we'll try it that way. We'll do it that way, because if you keep trying, listen, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Mhm.
And you just have to understand that sometimes the best course of action is trust. So there are going to be times that yes, you're not going to always see eye to eye with children, uh, financial decisions. You're not going to always see eye to eye, but there has to come a time in the disagreement where you just have to say, you know what, God, I trust you, and I trust the God you put in them. And if it doesn't work, you trusting them doesn't work, then it's up to you as the spouse or the help me to come in and say, okay, let's try to fix this together. Let's try to make it work. Um, and even when that decision is made, you don't leave them out there.
Yeah.
Even if you're upset and you disagree, you cover them in prayer. You cover the decision in prayer, and say, Lord, I don't understand what you're trying to do here. If you're trying to do something, but Lord, help my unbelief. That
Mhm.
should be the prayer. Lord, help my unbelief. Not Lord, I hope it fails. Lord, I hope I'm right. Lord, listen, trying to be right never won anything for anyone in a marriage. Let me tell
Yes.
you something. Being right does not win you any money. Being right does not get your bills paid. Being right does, sometimes being right will cause more hurt than harm. And
That is true.
what I mean by that is the idea of being able to say that you're right. The
Mhm.
idea of being able to say that I was right and you were wrong. Sometimes that sometimes it's just not worth the price of admission. It's just not worth the price to be able to
Mhm.
do that. Sometimes you have to say, Lord, help my unbelief. And
Mhm.
tell you sometimes I say that prayer and I'm being honest, gritting my teeth. Sometimes I say it gritting my teeth, but I say, Lord, help my unbelief.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do in a marriage. You have to trust the God in that other person, even when you can't see what they see.
Mhm. Okay, Pastor Cynthia.
I'm waiting for Bishop Daniels. Actually, I want to give my 5 minutes to him. All I gotta say is I agree with Bishop McCann said. I pray for a spirit of agreement. I pray for a spirit of agreement. And I also ask God, allow me to see it from his perspective. Show me what I might be missing. And when I feel like I want to push, I pray that the Lord hold me. So I pray for a spirit of agreement, even when before there's a challenge. All right, I'm yielding. I told you I'm yielding my 5 minutes. I want to get Bishop.
Okay, Bishop and Lady Daniel.
So for me, I'm the more sensitive one. I think when it comes to um, if we disagree or we don't really have like arguments. There can be just sometimes where he will just say, and my husband is very just
Mhm.
straight. I don't think that's wise, and so I'll just kind of like, okay. But like Bishop McCann said, I have to, even if I don't understand,
Yeah.
trust the fact of his wisdom and the decision. When it comes to our children, um, sometimes that can get hairy because just like
Mhm.
people, children can kind of work on you. So they know if mommy, they go to mommy and say, well, mommy, X, Y, and Z, I want to do this, that, and the other, or, daddy, such and such and such and such. And what I had to learn was you can't agree with your
Good.
children against your spouse. um, that is a major,
Yes,
major
ma'am.
thing because that will kill your marriage and it will kill your family. And because if you're not careful, they play on that. So I don't care how much you might disagree with your
Good.
spouse, but don't do it to your children. And don't do it with them. You have to still set that precedent that that's your father. We're going to respect. I don't care what you don't
Mhm.
understand. We're going to respect what he says because he's never steered us wrong before. I don't care what you didn't like. He takes care of us. I tell my daughter that now. Girl, this man pays the bills here, okay? And she's 27. But I tell her in a minute, he
Good.
pays the bills here. He takes care of us. He looks out for us. We eat every night because of this man. Yes, we all work, but this man takes care of this house. So, watch it. Don't go too far, because that's your
Yeah.
father. So for me, even when there's been times that, I've been even hurt, even with trying to be the one fixing everything, getting in the middle of him and the children and trying to make, and then it ends up backfiring a lot on me. And I've taken it on a lot. And he, would say to me, I'm just tired of you going through this cycle. You have to leave it be. It's
Yeah.
not your fault. You cannot
Yeah.
fix everything. They're, our children are grown. So they're grown. They're going to make their decisions. Yes, it may not feel good. Yes, I'm hurt, but you just have to let it be. So my stance is, like Pastor McKen said, I'm in the place of now, I just pray and I say, God, you know these children, you know us, you heal our family, you deal with our family, whatever the issues are underlying, whatever the enemy has ushered in. God,
Mhm.
you can do it. What I can't do, God, you can do. But I would just say, don't ever allow that to be a breach between your marriage, you and your spouse, when it comes to your children.
Yeah.
And we have a blended family. We have children that are outside of our marriage. As far as he raised our children, we raised them, but we did the best we could.
Mhm.
And so when you know that you've done the best you can, you've shown and you've tried to love them, when they decide to go their separate ways and whatever happens, you just have to leave it to the Lord. But I just realized we couldn't allow it to come between us.
Okay.
Okay, Pat Bishop, go ahead.
Oh, well,
Go ahead, Bishop.
you know me? Okay.
Yeah.
I think what we have to factor in is, although we may have the same objective, we approach it from two separate angles. Um, and I'm going to make a blanket statement, but it may not apply to everyone, but I think it can kind of hit with most. Women usually view things more intuitively, while men try to lean on their intellectualism. So you judge matters from your heart, and we tend to judge them from our head.
Mm.
And sometimes the two don't agree.
Yes.
Um, what your heart will compel you to do, your head will tell you don't. And what your head will tell you don't do, your heart is saying you should do.
Mhm.
And it could bring a conflict, although we're all trying to get to the same point. It's the way that we're going that can cause a disruption. So what I've learned to try to do is to trust that even if we don't agree,
Mhm.
she's not intently trying to hurt me
That's right.
or trying to minimize me. And
Right.
I do the same thing for her. Um, I want her to know that her voice matters. And any husband, I don't care how machismo he think he is,
Mhm.
if the man is happy, you stay out of the room that the man is in. If the wife is mad, the whole house is haunted. So none of us really want to live in that kind of tense moment. So it comes down with communication. We often know how to talk, but we don't know how to listen and to speak to one another. So if I can hear where she's coming from,
Yes.
and not try to mansplain everything, but just hear her heart, and then she can hear where I'm coming from,
Mhm.
and not hear me through her heart, and we come to an understanding that, hey, we both been saying the same thing. I'm just saying 2 + 2 = 4. You've been saying 1 + 3 = 4, but we've been saying the same thing. We've just been saying them differently. And then when we learn to communicate, it lessens the disagreement. Um, marriage is two aliens moving into the house with each other.
Right.
It takes time. It takes time to learn each other's language.
Mhm.
It takes time to know the looks on someone's face.
Mhm.
Lord.
That I don't care how much you tell me nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
I can tell by the way that you putting the dishes in the
No.
sink
That's right.
that's
That's
something that
right.
is not right. I
Mhm.
knew by the way you folded that towel that
That's
something
real
is
right
wrong.
there.
That's good.
And if I'm content with you saying everything's all right, then that's another argument because now you're gonna come and say, "Oh, you don't even care anymore. What's wrong
Mhm.
with me?" So it pays for me to investigate, but then to understand what may not even register to me matters to you. And I think marriage is about understanding the burdens that your spouse bears, even if you don't feel that yourself.
Wow. Woo!
That was an excellent point right there. My God. I know somebody's about to throw their phone. You about to throw your phone across the room based on what he just said. Let's continue this dialogue. All right. So there's disagreements, there's financial problems, sickness, all that comes in. But you had mentioned about blended families. Blended families are so prevalent these days. How do you bring that together? How do you love all the children the same? How do you bring about discipline, even if those aren't your biological children? Come on, talk to me, Bishop McCants.
Um, I don't think we can, and I hope this is not controversial. But I don't think you can love all your children the same. I think you love them in different areas.
Okay.
I think you love them on different levels because each child has a different need. So you can't, each child has a different need that you have to address. And I learned this because of our family. I used to believe that, yeah, I'm going to love all my children the same. And I guess I'm not. I guess I do love them the same, but their needs are different. So I'm dealing with them differently, not
Right.
because I love them differently, but because
Mhm.
their needs demand different, being addressed differently. If I can say it that way,
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
everybody's needs are different. So
Right.
it may appear that the parent is loving one more than the other, or even loving all the same. What
Hmm.
I believe is that each child has a need, and each child has an area that needs to be ministered in. Again, we have these four little boys that have been in our lives now for the last 6 years, and they've taught me. They have really shown me um, that I have to love each one of them. And I try to love them all the same, but I know my love may be the same, but their needs are not the same. And
Okay.
because of that, I may have to give one more attention than the other at the time. In certain areas, like there may be one of the boys that doesn't require to be up in daddy's face all the time. But then there's that young one. His name is Jace. Jace is going to make sure that he is on daddy's hip,
Hmm.
that he is in daddy's face. He is going to ask mommy where is daddy. He is
Hmm.
going to come downstairs and climb in the bed. He is just going to be all up in here. And
Okay.
the other boys, they've even gotten to the point where they start saying, "Daddy, Jace is in the room." Because they've even come to understand, not that I love them differently, but
Right.
Jace has a different need than they do. So
That's
I just believe that uh, we have to learn. I learned as a parent that I have to minister to them or help them in different areas. Not that
mhm.
my love is the same or different. It's just that I know I had to minister to them or help them in different areas because each one of my children are created differently.
Okay. I love that insight. I love that honesty, Pastor Cynthia.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I was going to say the same thing that Bishop Jason said. Um, is that the intensity and the commitment of my love is the same for all the children, but how I execute and show that love is different. For instance, because we're a blended family, before we got the boys, it was my son and his daughter. And I say my daughter, anytime I discuss her, anything like that. But I've watched the dynamic between my husband and her mom, and how contentious it has been. They've literally been in court all of her life, all of her life. They've been in court, even to today. She's 17 years old. And what a sad commentary, um, because court is the only thing that her mom understands. Doesn't respect it, but, that's her only. So, with that, I try to play a different role, a complementary role, understanding that mommy and daddy can only communicate or gain access to me through the court system, which I have not had a voice in yet. I try to be a listener for her. I try to love her and be motherly, but I don't try to be her mother.
Okay.
If it was different, then I would be that.
Right.
But for me, for this, I need to be motherly and not be her mother. She's already got enough complications going on. And I wanted to make myself the third wheel or fourth wheel. In essence, if I can't go to any of those places, I know I can go to Miss Cynthia. And there are some things where, you know, my husband may ask me to come in on some things, and I'm very careful in coming in, because I understand, like with my son, it's not that we want to exclude anyone, but sometimes that child only feels comfortable with that one parent to say certain things. And I don't want her to know he shared it with me, because I want her to feel like saying something to her dad is just her, she and her dad.
Right.
So that's how it's different with her and how I love her. The depth of my love is the same for her as it is for my own sons or what have you.
Yeah.
But it's how I execute and show that love. And the same thing for my boys. Some of them have quirks, some of them have their challenges. So I have to care and love for them in different ways. One or two of them may be extremely affectionate. One of them may always be acting out. When I hear something behind me, I know which one it is. When I know which one it is. So instead of me coming at a hand of reprimand, I understand he needs something different. Even for my son, it was just he and I for so long. I try to understand the confusion in his mind from a kid and being and accepting all these other people. So the depth of the love is there. It's how we show it and execute it, is that may be different. And I grew up in a blended family.
Okay.
So it was in me to love other people's children and to bring other people into our home and things like that. It's part of who I am, and I watched it. So it wasn't abnormal to me. And I understand people need family, and it doesn't matter. It's not about the bloodline. It's really about who commits to loving you at that level.
Okay. Thank you for that, Pastor Cynthia. Bishop and Lady Daniels, talk to us about that blended family situation.
I think Pastor Cynthia said something that I've always tried to hold to, even though all of our children are not biologically mine. You'll never know
Right.
that. I've never used the word step anything. Those are my children, and she's the same way with my children. It's difficult because you have to sometimes overcompensate for what they experience outside of your household.
Okay.
And I don't know who's watching, so I'm gonna watch what I say. But it's not always, the other party does not always make it easy. And you have to understand that child comes sometimes feeling like they're being played tug of war with.
Yes.
And they're forced to make a decision that they should never have to make. Like a child should never have to pick which parent that they want to love on, or they want to be with, or if I love on daddy too much, mommy will get mad. If I love on mommy too much, daddy will get upset. And they're just left like they don't know what to do, and they're damaged because of it. So then you find yourself as a parent sometimes trying to overcompensate and then the other children are looking like, well, you love that one love more than you love me. And
Yes.
as Bishop said, it's not a matter of loving them more or less, it's a matter of loving them differently.
Mhm.
um, Addressing the need that they have. We have four girls and there's only one boy. And there were times that my son would say, Daddy loves the girls more than he loves me. And I had to explain to him, it's not that I love you less or more, I love you differently. Because I'm showing them how a man should be affectionate towards his daughter, but I'm showing you how a man needs to treat his son.
Good.
I'm
Good.
not raising you to be them,
Mhm.
and I'm not raising them to be you. So it's a complicated course to navigate sometimes,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, there's no rule book to it. My wife is beating on our youngest daughter now, which is the dog.
I'm sorry.
You know, she's of the tribe of the Philistine.
Oh my God.
So but yeah, that's and I. Go ahead.
I agree. It is very, very different on how I was a very young mother. My my daughter I had when I was 16. Um,
Wow.
so my mother raised her, and then she came to live with us, in her latter years. But it is different, and you love them all, but you do handle them differently. And I had to realize that. My son is in the middle, and being the only boy, so it's just different. I know their makeup, I know how they are as far as their sensitivities. The way that I talk to Brittany, I could not talk to my oldest daughter that way. Brittany is a little more, she was always that one, that baby one, but I knew that I could not handle them the way I handle her. So you really, as a parent, no rule book. You really just go by knowing your children, knowing how they are, knowing their makeup, and even with our children, that are not mine, I never made a difference. When it was school shopping time,
Yeah.
school shopping, everybody got,
That's good.
yeah, I
No
never said,
partiality.
"Well, I'm shopping for my children." Well, I don't know what you.
Right.
They all had. When I bought one, I bought the others. So
Mhm.
nobody ever felt like, well, they got more than me. No, no, no. Even
Yeah.
at Christmas time, I made sure that you didn't feel like, well, she got more gifts than me. Why did he get more? No,
Mhm.
everybody got the same amount. So around that Christmas tree, everybody's ripping open paper.
That's
And
good.
that was it. So um you just do the best that you can. Sometimes, like Pastor McCann said, I've had to walk gingerly, not trying to be the mother, but
Mhm.
being motherly, knowing you could come to me. I love you, I am there for you.
Yeah.
Whatever you need to encourage you, to push you in the right direction, make good decisions, but never trying to act like I'm trying to take the place of that mother,
Yeah.
because that can be very dangerous. So,
Yeah.
it's a learning thing. It's really a learning process. And again, you really have to be prayerful, even in with your children, and
Mhm.
having blended families and relationships. You have to really be prayerful, because if not, your emotions can get involved, and then it can really get where it shouldn't be. But I would say really be prayerful. And just, you got to know who you have. You have to know the children that you have in your family. You have to know your relationships with them,
Mhm.
and do it accordingly. Sometimes there's not easy times, but
Mhm.
you just got to handle it in grace and back up sometimes, give some room, and then allow that time to come that you can get it back. My son said to me, I think we talked like over a year ago, and he said, Mommy, back when we had a little trouble between us, he said, I didn't know I had just said some of the ugliest things. I'm so sorry. I said, CJ, you
Mhm.
know what? I said some ugly things too, and I'm sorry. It just happens in the heat of the moment. It's
That's
what
right.
happens. I said, but the thing that we could come back together and reconcile and realize, you know what, as a parent, I can say, I was wrong. I handled that incorrectly. And
Okay.
you, as the son, you say, I handled that incorrectly, mommy. I'm sorry, and then realize you weren't out to try to hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it is.
This is excellent. I have to let you go, but just real quick, I must hit on this. And you did touch on it, and some of the statements that you made was so profound. Can can you tell us, how do you recover from a divorce? If it happened, what do I do? Is it over? Meaning, am I to wallow in it forever, feeling like life is over? Come on, I believe God has got a second chance, third chance. I know me, He's giving me a million chances.
Million.
Come on, a million chances. So, what would you say? You've been through it. What would you say to somebody who's listening, who's saying, I don't know, I don't know if I can really, recover from this. I'm going through a divorce, or I am divorced. Um, Bishop McCants, do you want to kick us off?
Yes. I'll just say this. When I when I got divorced, it was like a ripping of my spirit. I was hurt. I was devastated. I was embarrassed. I mean, there were times I was angry. There was times I was hurt. I went through a myriad but when you get He's fit to allow you to get married again. And it took me about a good 5 years after I got married to understand that I was really blessed to be able to do it. And I realized that there was some residuals of that last marriage that you always deal with. When you get divorced, no matter how far down the line you are, there are always some residual effects that you
Okay.
deal with as a result of a divorce. You deal with residuals. It just comes with it. But I come to tell someone today that if by chance you had to get a divorce, that God is a God of second chances. I'm a living witness. I'm living proof. Because you just really think that when you're going through it, you really think that you can't recover. You think there's no way you're going to recover. You think that people aren't going to receive you.
Yeah.
And sometimes you think more people are watching than really are. I found that out too. I thought more people was watching and really there were people watching, but it wasn't as many as I thought. But that's how your emotions play tricks on your mind and your emotions. They play tricks on you. And but you can recover. I thank God for my wife. I thank God for our marriage. We just celebrated our anniversary on November 14th.
Yeah.
Thank God for 13 wonderful years.
That's beautiful.
Thank God for that. And it's a blessing to be married. And when you've been, and I know it's a cliche, but when you've been in a bad marriage, you'll learn how to appreciate a good one. And let me tell you, I told my sister today, my blood sister, I said, listen, I said, for as much ups and downs as I've had in the marriage I'm in, I said, I have no desire to go back to Lodabar.
Amen.
I have no desire.
Come on, Bishop.
I have no desire to go back to that dry place. So
Come on.
I thank the Lord for being able to being a great relationship, and that you can recover. God is a God of second chances, and I'm a living witness to that. I always kid around with a couple of my close friends, and I'll share with you that one of my theme song is by this group called, and I'm dating myself, Lady Daniels and Bishop Daniels. I'm dating myself by the group called Shalimar, and Shalimar sang a song Second Time Around. And,
Yes. Yes, it did.
make it better than the first time. And that's my theme song for me and my wife. I thank God for that second time around.
I love
And I
it.
thank the Lord that He found me worthy enough. He found me worthy enough to put a great woman in my life who I love and cherish dearly. And I'm grateful. And I wanted to say that tonight to everyone on the line.
Amen. That was so beautiful. I knew I had to ask that question. We could not sign off tonight because somebody needed to hear that. Come on here, Pastor Cynthia. Talk to us real quick about the divorce. How do we deal with it?
Sure. So, you know, I co-sign and say amen. Bishop, can you mute your phone? I co-sign and say amen to everything he said. My thing is, uh, divorce is never easy, but when you make up your mind that you want to stop hurting and that you want to heal, you'll make up your mind to let the other
Yeah,
person go. Whether you decided to leave or whether they decided to leave or whether it was mutual. The sooner you stop wanting to cause injury on them, meaning their name or tell people what happened, when you want to stop telling the story so that everyone knows, when you get to that place, you're now ready to heal. You're now ready to go forward.
good.
If you still want to tell people what happened, if you still want to tell people what they didn't know, if you
That's
still
right.
somehow or another want to turn that person's name up, whether it's true or not, then you're not ready to move on. But if you are ready to be healed and you want God to heal that broken place in you, you've got to come to the place where you want to put down your weapons
Mm-hmm.
and stop talking about how bad it was and stop lashing out. The other thing is give yourself time to heal. I
Yeah.
know when you're used to being with someone, you used to having them warm legs in the bed with you, you used to having somebody to call up on the phone, you want to replace those voids quickly. But this one of the worst things that you can do is to put somebody else in a broken place that has not been rebuilt. It's the worst thing. And what's going to happen is you are getting into a new relationship, dealing with carrying your brokenness into that relationship, and eventually that brokenness is going to spill over onto that other person. They don't even know who they're getting.
Yeah.
So coming out of divorce is possible, not just to come out of it to heal, but it's like credit. Only time
Mm-hmm.
heals a broken marriage. Only time. It's a ripping away. It's like an abortion of a relationship. And it doesn't matter how bad it doesn't matter how bad the person was or how bad you were. Number one, the first step is like any other process. The first step is to realize both of you had a nickel in that dime.
Mm.
I don't care if they went upside your head. You weren't perfect. It doesn't make it right. I'm just saying you had some ownership in it. And
Good.
so I want to say that yes, it's possible to move on. But one of the things that we're seeing so much, and I shared this earlier with Elder, one of the things that we're seeing so much, especially people in the ministry, is that when the breakup happens in the marriage, yes, it's public because you're a public figure in the church. So we feel some sense of responsibility to
Mm-hmm.
let the Christian community connected to us know what happened or what the other person did or that they weren't who they said they were. And now we want to destroy them. But as I indicated or referenced earlier, your witness is on the line. You once stood on the stage with this person and declared the word of the Lord and said you loved them and how great and wonderful they were. So either you were lying, which some people said I was lying, or you were telling the truth. But now this person has had a bad spat and now you're offered a bad spat. Everybody has that. What I'm saying is everybody has the right to heal. You married in front of people, but that commitment was still private between you and them and God. And
Yeah.
you need to honor that even through the death of the marriage. And the worst thing we can do, one of the things God did with me, He took me off the scene. He took me completely off the scene, sent me someplace where nobody knew me,
Wow.
meaning in ministry. Literally, the Lord moved me to another part of New York, and I was worshiping under a pastor I didn't even know. And I was gone for so long, it was like when the Lord allowed me to come back to the people who knew me, they were no longer asking and talking about what happened. They were talking about where you've been. Oh, things are looking so well. They forgot about it. So the Lord removed me from the situation. I took advantage of it. I didn't try to relive it. And you gotta show the world that if you say you want to forgive somebody, you got to show them that you've forgiven that spouse and that you've asked that spouse to forgive you and that you can still both peacefully coexist. The same God you serve is the same God they serve, if it was a marital, a Christian marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So, we can't try to destroy other people because our witness is also on the line. Whether they are broken, whether they were abusive, whether they were out of their minds or, promiscuous or whatever. When do you heal? You can heal everybody in your church, but you can't heal the person who may have injured you in a marriage.
All right.
So it's important. There's life after divorce, but we got to stop putting our stuff on the front page and then trying to force the world to accept this new love that we found in our lives, and everybody ought to accept it and go dancing down the aisle. No, give people time to heal and let your witness be purified.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that was excellent. That was very insightful. Bishop and Lady Daniels.
Well, I'm gonna talk. Bishop's never been married before. I'm his first wife. So,
Go ahead.
but for me, it was a little different for me. I was not, so public as far as in ministry or in the Christian community. But for me, and I'll piggyback off of Pastor. You get to a point that you forgive, and I had to really look into where this person was, and what they saw throughout their life, because a hurt person
Yeah.
hurts people. So I had to realize where they were, what they experienced growing up, what they saw growing up, and he just mimicked it. And it not too long ago, they came, we saw each other, and they said, I really want you to forgive me. I'm really sorry the way I treated you. And I said, you know what? All is well and it is forgiven. I want you to be well. I don't want you to, I want you to be better, because, was ill in his body and, different things. But it felt good for me that I was able to just administer that forgiveness and just say it is well. I'm not pining over that. I'm not hurting over it. It was good for me that I was afflicted. And I'll be honest with y'all. I prayed and asked God, please let him go. Please remove him. I didn't curse him. I didn't want him to die. None of that. But I just asked God. I wasn't even saved. And I said, God, please just let him go. And he did. I think maybe a few weeks later, he packed up his car and moved away. So
Look at that.
I really had to thank God that he saved my life. Because I think had I stayed, he probably would have killed me. So it just had to be. But I'm not walking around bitter. I'm not walking around angry, and I don't take it out on my husband. That's not him, and I don't keep that going. So you can recover after divorce. You can live after the hurt, whatever happened, you can live after it. But again, like Pastor McCann said, it's how you choose to live.
Yes.
To say, I'm not going to let this control the rest of my life. I'm not going to allow this to make me angry, bitter, and all I'm doing is killing me. I'm getting sick over it. I'm going through all kinds of medical issues because I don't want to let this go. I have to let it go. And no, killing them publicly, putting their name out there does not help you.
That's right.
All it does is it makes it worse for you. And so you don't have to destroy a person because they hurt you. Ask God to help you open up your heart and forgive, and you can live, you can be better, and there is somebody that will love you the way that you're supposed to be loved. But you just have to allow yourself to recover. And like she said, take time and just heal. Heal. And there are days sometimes it may try to come up, and you have to cast those thoughts down, bring down that imagination. I'm not going to keep rehearsing this. I'm not going to keep letting this play like a movie screen in my head. I'm not doing that. That act is over. That dilemma is canceled.
Right.
I'm going to move on because I've got something greater ahead of me. And that's how you have to look at it. So you can recover after divorce.
Absolutely. That was wonderful. Because it hurts my heart when I see people play out all the anger on social media.
Yes.
It's not of God. It's not the way to go. It causes so much pain, more anger, more disappointment, more hurt, more division in the body of Christ. You know, information that people don't need, or lies. Things get all turned around and twisted. But to end on a positive note, I want you to tell us how we're going to end on this. How do you keep the fire burning in your marriage? How do you keep that sizzle in your marriage? And give your closing remarks. You can say whatever you want to say, all right? Because I know there's fire on here tonight. But we talked about everything. We talked about blended families, and we talked about all the problems and disagreements. Now we're gonna bring it home and tell us, how do we keep that fire burning in the marriage? Now, who wants to go first?
I do.
Come on.
I do. Listen.
Come on.
Stop acting like you in church every day. I'm just assuming that our audience is a Christian audience. Stop acting like you in church every day. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, this ain't church. This ain't no pulpit. Listen, keep yourself together. Get yourself together.
Right.
If your mind is off, you forgetful, or you becoming mean and cantankerous or whatever, go get you some medicine. Go get you some supplements. Keep yourself together. Get your body together, get your head together, get your hair together, your nails together, man. Do the same stuff. Be attractive. My thing is, at 52, going through the change in life and all of that kind of stuff, your feelings and stuff are different. You have got to realize, that person that you're with may not be at the same place you're at. You may be toning it down, but they still might be pumping it up. So you need to go find you something to help you pump it up. You got to make sure that you maintain balance in that thing. And I'm like, listen, if you married, you thug life, then I'm not telling you got to be thug life, but you got to bring it, ma'am, sir, whatever the case, you got to bring it. And I just think that we just be trying to be so deep in church, we be trying to act so holier than thou or whatever. Listen, I put up 2 or 3 pictures when we went to Aruba the other week. That's because the rest of the stuff just wasn't church appropriate. Most of my friends on Facebook is church appropriate. You know what I'm saying? It's church folks. Stop trying to be so deep with your man, with your woman. Keep it real. Do what they like. Let them come in and do what they like. Then also, just don't accept it. Something falling apart, go get it propped up. Something ain't working right, go get it fixed. Something getting a little fat, go suck it out. Or whatever the case may be. Get you some injection. Whatever you need. My thing is, listen, keep the fire alive. Get your music going. Do the things you like. Stop acting like you're in church. This is not church service. And I'm not, there's a jealous bone in my body. I know my husband is fine. I just think he's the finest, most chocolate black thing I ever seen in my life. I love that old deep voice and all that stuff. It just does it for me. That's cool. I'm not shocked when other women find him attractive. I'm a fool. If don't nobody find your man or your woman attractive, you a fool. You done married somebody that attractive. So why you upset when folks is cheering for your man or cheering for your woman? I'm good with that. I'll be like, yeah, girl, ain't he fine? Just don't come off them bleachers. Cheer all you want to. I'm just saying. So don't be upset. And if he ain't doing it for you, and if he don't look like what it is that you like and the neighbor do, buy him what the neighbor wear, and then you got it right there at home and it's legal. Okay, I'm done. Bye.
All right. Okay, Bishop McCants, your last words concerning keeping the fire. I hope he can hear me.
I guess I must have embarrassed him.
I think he's in his car. I don't know. All right, Bishop, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm in the car. I gotta get my daughter to Sunday, so we have to get out of the house. But can y'all hear me?
Go ahead, we got you.
Can y'all hear me?
We got you.
Okay, listen, I agree with what my wife said. Listen, it's too many things out here now that can help you, so you don't be looking all tired and destitute. Too many help. You go get it. You gonna get sucked. You can go get it cut. you can lose the weight. You can
You can get a hair transplant. There's so many things you can do to keep that fire burning. But also, listen, make sure you keep you together, and make sure
Mm-hmm.
you continue to tell your wife, tell your husband, you love one another. Listen, I've never been more attracted to my wife than I am now. And I'm telling you, I mean, listen, we've been married 13 years. Some people be like, oh my goodness, I'm losing the fight. What's wrong with your partner? Because I'm still in love, and I still got the fire for my wife. And
Good.
I don't be trying to act deep. I don't be trying to act deep when it's time for her to get home and we get together. I don't be trying to read no scriptures. I don't be trying to put on no Timothy Wright. No, I'm gonna put on me. I'm gonna put on me some Barry White. We gonna put some nice little silk something on, and
Mm-hmm.
we gonna make it do what it do. So you can't be so heavenly minded till you know earthly good. And
That's
that's
good.
what I say. Don't be so heavenly minded till you know earthly good. And listen, I'm gonna say this. I don't want my wife to be Reverend McKenzie in the bedroom. I want her to be Cynthia. That's who I want.
Yes, yes. We hear
Word.
you. We hear you,
Word.
Bishop.
Listen, at 52, I got just enough energy for him. So listen, for folks that still running around, hey, more power to you, boo boo. At 52, I just thank God for just enough energy for him.
I love it. I thank you for your honesty and for your transparency. Bishop and Lady Daniels, y'all got the last word on keeping it civil in a marriage.
Ahead,
Go,
honey.
And
y'all, go.
go
Please
ahead.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
This is it.
Um, okay. She fussing at me. Y'all didn't see that.
Mm.
Um, I think the McCann summed it up totally. Do what you have to do for the health of your relationship. I didn't I didn't want a prayer partner. Although I wanted somebody who could pray for me, I didn't want a prayer partner. Um, that's for inside the sanctuary. Uh, you know, I find my wife, and I tell her all the time, she's more beautiful to me now than she was the day that I married her. And that day, I thought she was the most beautiful woman in the world.
Wow.
So, you know, positive affirmations go a long way. Um, I'll never know what it's like to have a six pack. I've always had a keg. That's fine. Uh, it's getting cold now, and chubby comes into play when it's cold. Nobody wants a bone but a dog.
Right.
So I always remind her that even as we're getting older, that we're getting more seasoned and comfortable with one another. Where after being together being married 22 years and being together for 28 years, there's no more pretenses. There's nothing else to hide. There's nothing to be ashamed of. This is the woman that I'm in love with, not just in love with, will be with. And I think once that person knows on either end, listen, when you look at me, you don't see my deficiency, uh,
Mm-mm.
but you see my beauty, or you even love my flaws.
Yes.
Um, you know, it builds up that confidence, and when you're confident, you feel good about yourself. So that's how I think we do it, man.
Yeah.
That's good. Lady Daniels, anything you want to add?
I would just say to keep it going. Also know each other's love language. Know what
Mm.
the other one needs, and sometimes it's not just the intimacy of just sex. It is even just hold her hand, or
Mhm.
there are times that we'll have music in our heads and we just come together and just dance in the kitchen, just
Oh.
going back and forth with each other, but just the wrapping of his arms around me and dancing with me, just that little slow move, like that
Yes.
takes you to that place. It's like, I can just fold up in his arms and I'm good.
Yes.
So, you know, um,
it's those little things, you know, watching a movie together and just laughing, like, or just finding something silly to laugh at. You know, it just makes the difference. So that's how you keep that fire, that romance, that love, that, you know, always that attraction. Like I tell him sometimes, I said, you know, I feel like when he, you know, may touch my hand or, you know, kiss me, it makes me feel like when I first, you know, had the first kiss with him
Wow.
years ago.
All
So,
right.
you know, and sometimes I tell him like, oh, you just be making me like, oh,
Yeah.
but that's between us. Like that's what we have, and that's what you need to keep. You need to have that. Like it was that first time with you two. You know, keep that going. You know, make sure you do whatever it takes to keep that blaze going, that passion going for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it works. It really works. Even as you get older, like Pastor McCann said, I'll be 51 in December. And
Mm-hmm.
so things change. Your body changes. You know,
Yeah.
I went and got you know, some little natural pills, but you know, when you get them hot flashes and going through all them changes, I don't
Mm-hmm.
need them mood swings. So let me help myself because I'm not going to drive him crazy and run him out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to know what you need to tame yourself, get yourself together, and
Yeah.
you know, it works. It really works, but you just have to know. But I just appreciate what we have. I really do. I appreciate what we have. And then you're not looking at somebody else and looking on Facebook like, oh, they go out and they do this and why we don't do that. Do what you do for you and your man. Stop
Come on.
looking at what you see on social media with
All
other
right.
couples. Because sometimes what we're portraying out there is not really the real thing.
Right.
So
That's
don't
right.
covet what you see. Build your own, maintain your own, and keep it between. You have nothing to prove to what's out there. Keep
Yes.
what you have and cover your marriage right where you are.
Amen. I want everybody to send up some hearts and likes for our four panelists on this evening. This has been absolutely outstanding. They have really delivered. They have been honest, real, raw, transparent, and we appreciate everything that they share. We went a little bit longer than I thought I would, but it was so good, and all the wisdom and nuggets were just so excellent. You know, you can't stop people when there's so much. You ask them to come and you ask them to come share. There's so much that you can't even say it all in one broadcast. But visit their ministries. They're going to now tell you whatever merchandise they have available. They have if they have books, events, whatever the case may be. I'm putting up their Cash App. If you would like to sow into them, sow into their ministry, sow into them, into their homes. You can see Lady Dion's, Pastor McCann's. I'm not. What is your Cash App, Pastor McCann's? Can you tell me real quick?
They can send it to New Gethsemane, $ New Gethsemane.
$ New Gethsemane. We have Bishop Daniels, Remnant Movement, Dion Daniels. That's her Cash App. Feel free.
That's actually the wrong Cash App. I'm sorry. That Cash App is not no longer in works. I'm sorry.
What's the right Cash App, woman of God?
It is. Hold on. I'm going to tell you right now.
Come on. And now, Pastor Cynthia, tell us what you have going on at your church.
I'm just highlighting the raffles that we have going on. We can't do what we would normally do to raise money and get things to give away for Christmas and for needy families during this holiday season. So we're asking people for a small donation to New Gethsemane that they will be entered into the raffle to either win a PS5 or an Oculus Quest 2 virtual reality system. The links are on our church page, Cathedral at New Gethsemane, right here on Facebook. You can enter for a small donation, $1, one entry, $5, five entries. And also you can share the link. And as many times as you share the link, you get another entry to win the infamous, completely out of stock Sony PlayStation 5 or the Oculus Quest 2. That's what we're doing right now.
Okay, make sure you hit up Pastor Cynthia McCants on Facebook. You can get further details. What is your Cash App again, Pastor McCants?
I was putting in my phone.
Can you hear me, Pastor McCants? All right, Lady D.
$ New Gethsemane, NEWGETHSEMANE. $ New
Excellent. And Lady Daniels, what is your cash app?
Mine is $D1MCDBR.
Got it. All right now. So tell us, what are you doing down in Richmond, Virginia before we sign off?
I started my own shoe collection, which is called Dion Michelle, and all ladies
Woo!
can shop at LadyDionDaniels.com. The shoes are amazing and at a good price. And we have some specials coming up for Black Friday, so you can visit the site. I'll make sure that I put up so all ladies can shop. There are some lower heels. I know some ladies don't really wear heels anymore, but there are some lower heels added. And my motto is, when you step into a Dion Michelle, you step into greater. So thank you so much. Yes.
I love it. And Bishop, any last words that you have, Bishop Daniels?
Good night.
Good night. Thank you all for the wonderful impartation. I believe someone was encouraged and built up on this evening. We say God bless you. Hit up all of the panelists, please, on social media. Connect with them. Send them a friend request. Visit their ministries. They'd love to have you. All right? We love you. God bless you. May you all have a good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.